Hello, welcome brothers. How you guys doing? Sorry, I am getting still set up. So, yeah, I guess it's been an exciting week. Thank you to everybody that's here already. I guess a lot of you guys probably have your Codex Supplement, and if you guys can hear me okay, please just let me know in the chat real quick if you can hear me. Like, I sometimes have problems with this microphone, so just shout out in the chat if the volume's good. And yeah, yeah, annoyingly, I have the cards, but I do not have the codex. So, maybe if there's things that people want to go over in the cards, we have the cards anyway. We just do not have the codex, so go figure. That's what deliveries are in Scotland at the moment. Kind of sucks, but yeah, alright, glad that you can hear me fine. Welcome to everybody that's regular, and then welcome, I think we got some new faces here as well. And hey Rennie, how you doing? Yeah, so other people are waiting on their stuff as well. Fun times. I guess the pandemic is slowing down the mail. I'm surprised that mine came separately though, right? Like, I got the cards and I got the dice, and it was like, those were the two things that I didn't need. Hey Gizmo, how you doing from Sweden? So yeah, this week I guess we have a few lists to have a look at, and then I thought what I'd do is I'd put next week's on the screen as well. So I guess it's filling up pretty fast. There's one spot available for next week, so if you have a list that you want looked at next week, then you probably need to submit it today. Otherwise you will be a little later in the year, I guess, just when I get to it. Daniel, I was curious if you might think a good starting place for Blood Angels is in Crusade. I know it's narrative, but I don't know what to take. I haven't built a Crusade force. Maybe I should build one, Daniel. How many power level do you get for your Crusade force? It's like 25 or 50, right? Yeah, maybe it's a good idea for a future. I was thinking of doing a video for people joining Blood Angels for the first time and what would be key things to buy. So, yeah, thanks, Lagmeister. My week's been fine. I was disappointed as all hell yesterday when the book didn't come, because I was been looking forward to it. The dice are more expensive than the book. Yeah, you're right, Robin. The dice are a bit ridiculous. The thing about those dice, though, I don't know if you guys bought some of them, but those dice go on eBay for 2 or 3 times their value very, very quickly. Because I guess Games Workshop probably just released the dice once with each army, each edition. So yeah, if you want to make some money in the future, buy a bunch of the dice and then just flip them. It's dead easy. 25 power level to start with. Then I guess and do you have to this is how much of the Crusade stuff I've read, which is pretty much 0. Do you have to build a battalion, or how does a Crusade work? Can you just build any force, like a Vanguard, for example, or does it have to be a battalion? I have to get some of mine, of course. They're super readable, and they finally put the chapter icon on the 6. Yeah, I have the dice where the chapter icon is on the 1. It's a bit stupid. Some of the upgrades from Crusade are insane. Ignore invulnerables from melee, teleport every turn, etc. Yeah, okay. I guess Crusade does sound a bit wild. Yeah, we need to somehow get you to where Games Workshop will send you an advanced copies. I think to get an advanced copy, I'm not going to say who told me, but somebody said you need to have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I have a ways to go to get to 10,000 subscribers. But maybe one day. And we did cover a lot of leaks just last week. So if anyone, I guess that's a good place to start. If anyone has questions about the new book or the rules or any of the interactions of the rules, because I saw some questions in the Facebook group and I was trying to make sure that I'm giving the right answers. So if anyone has questions about the rules, then let's hear them. And let's see if we can't clear them up. Because there is some funny things, like with the death visions and the interactions between the two. I don't know about you, maybe this is me being weird, right? But see these cards, right? We got we got this symbol on a few of them, and then we've got the Death Company on a few, and I guess we've got some skulls. But overall, I was don't know if I'm super keen on the symbols. I mean, is that the psychic? Yeah, okay. So the psychic powers got some, and the Death Company got some, but the rest all just got this sort of like Mechanicus skull, which is fine. But it's not my favourite. But, I mean, it will be handy to have cards again because there was no cards with the Blood of Baal, and, like, it's easier to remember your rules. A tip for you if you're ever playing the game and you're casting, if you're using the cards, sometimes it's quite nice to just put the cards on the board next to the models so you can remember that you cast a power on a model or something like that. Okay, and Robin has his book if we need anything specific. That's great. I mean, I guess if somebody asks a question and and I'm showing something on screen, like, because I still have the leaks from last week and they're all like the pictures, right? So if I'm ever showing a picture or something and the book says something different, if you guys have the book already and you can clarify that, that would be super useful. But I think, do you know what? I've been waiting for a while now to look at like Mephiston and the Librarian Dreadnought, so maybe we're going to look at them next week and see once and for all, because right now they're both 155 points. If you take the Meltagun with the Librarian Dreadnought, which I think is a really good choice, right? Mephiston 155 points, Librarian Dreadnought 150 plus the Meltagun. I mean, the Meltagun, if you're within 6, he has the potential of doing 8 damage. Yeah, you only hit on 3s, but I mean, occasionally you will be able to hit something with that Meltagun in close range and do a ton of damage. So, yeah, I think I'll compare Mephiston and Librarian Dreadnought in the very near future. I mean, people have been asking which one is better, and I guess we'll maths hammer it completely, and we'll look at. So I guess Librarian Dreadnought could technically be given 2 Warlord traits now with the Arx Angelicum. So that'll be pretty powerful. I mean, 1 Warlord trait can be taken from the Space Marine book, and then 1 Warlord trait can be taken. One Warlord trait can be taken from the Blood Angels book, or 2 from the Blood Angels book, I guess. So yeah, I think this is the card. Use this stratagem after nominating a Blood Angels character that is not a named character to be your Warlord. You can generate 1 additional Warlord trait for them. If this model is from the Blood Angels or one of their successors, that must be from the Blood Angels Warlord Traits table. But remember, you'd have already picked your first one at that point, so that first one could be from the Space Marine table. If this model is from the Flesh Tearers Warlord Trait, generate from their table instead. Each Warlord Trait in your army must be unique. If randomly generated, yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone that randomly generates Warlord Traits. You always pick what you want to use, right? But yeah, could be quite an interesting option. And I think, alright, so yeah, I mean, I don't have a Crusade force in front of me, but why don't you jump onto the Facebook group after the live stream and hit me up with what you need to make for a Crusade force, and I'm sure we can pick something to help you out. And also tell me if it needs to be a battalion or a vanguard or exactly what it is. Is it just... I didn't get my core rulebook till like maybe just like 3 weeks ago, so honestly I never read the Crusade stuff, and I'm very competitive, but like I just play competitive at the moment. Someone invited me to a Crusade, like we have a Crusade event like at the local club or whatever, and someone invited it to me, but yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard, like I have a very young daughter, so I only really get like 1 night a week for gaming, so I just have been focusing that 1 night on competitive 100% of the time. Okay, so yeah, these are the lists for this week. These are the lists for next week. D King, Mark Kitman, Mika, and PJat96. So you guys are in for next week, and this is where we are for this week. And I guess we'll just go in the order that we've got them here. So we'll start with Joe. I haven't seen that trait yet, also without the book. Yeah, I mean, it's very annoying. I mean, if you don't have the book, I think it was Bob that sometimes hangs out in the live stream. Bob posted up like a bunch of those leak screenshots. I mean, that's where I got a bunch of them from into the Facebook group. So you can jump in there. Can the Librarian Dreadnought no longer take the Flamer, because Meltagun feels like overkill for a Dread that will already murder most vehicles on the charge, while the Flamer gives them versatility. Yeah, I mean, you can take a Flamer if you want. The reason that I don't... I think the reason I don't take like a heavy, and I'm pretty sure it. I was going to say it's a. Let me double check. I just had it up a second ago. Is it a heavy flamer or is it just a flamer? The Librarian Dreadnought can still take. No, it's a heavy flamer, right? The only reason that I don't take that is because I hate weapons that are D6 shots. Like, I just find it very difficult to ever. I guess that's why like no one runs a Battle Predator at the moment, right? It's really hard to know what it's going to do in the battlefield because its main cannon is D6 shots. So I think I watched a video where Tabletop Titans basically said the same thing. They're like, if you're rolling 4, 5s, and 6, then great. But if you're rolling 1s, 2, and 3s, then flame weapons are useless, right? So maybe at some point in the future, if flamers just became like a flat 3 shots or something, then I would have probably taken a heavy flamer. Just a key roll in the game and you roll a 1, then yeah, I think I just take the melta gun and know exactly what I'm trying to do with this roll. But I mean, Newcomb, if you like flamers, by all means, don't let me stop you using flamers. I had a tournament organizer tell me that an RTT last night that we lose Red Thirst +1 to wound rolls in the new Codex. I was thinking he was wrong, but he gave me a heart attack. Yeah, he is wrong. The Super Doctrines are actually in the Space Marine Codex. So I don't know if it's mentioned in the Blood Angels Codex. I imagine it would be, but you take your Red Thirst rule from the Space Marine Codex as it stands. And then there's no kill like the overkill. Yeah, I mean, that's something that people say as well. Like, it's better to overkill than not kill. So, I mean, I guess you can think of it that way. And, yeah, okay, so Adam's confirmed that that's in the Space Marine Codex. Yeah, so let's have a look at Joe's list. Let's start there. I actually have it open twice. And, create new roster. Joe. So in future streams, what I want to get to the point where, like, when I'm reviewing people's lists, I wanted to say on screen, like, whose list it is. And I guess I'm trying to make my stream a bit more professional every week, but for the moment, I guess I was actually wondering if, like, I could just write Joe in a notepad file, and like put it at like size. I guess it would be size 72 or something, maybe, and just like throw it up here, not full screen. So I mean, I guess it'll go behind stuff, but yeah, I mean, if you're tuning in a little bit later, you'll know which list we're talking about. Last week, what we did was we put all the lists after the stream into the video description. So again, if you're tuning in late or you missed a bit, you can pick up the list from the video description. So if that helps you figure out like your army or whatever you want to do, so you can take it from there. So, alright, so yeah, I mean, I guess Joe is running Chief Librarian Mephiston, and that is his one of his HQs. I guess these lists were submitted like a week ago, so they might not have too much stuff coming from the no codex, but what we can do is we can chat about some of the new stuff that's coming and some of the new stratagems. So Mephiston has obviously got a lot better. I guess he has. So Battlescribe hasn't been updated, so this is useless. But Mephisto got a lot better because we got the Blood Angels psychic powers back. They are. I was going to say, let me check. Upon Wings of Fire is not a psychic power. Sorry. Smite, Quickening, Unleash Rage, Shield of Sanguinius, Boiling Blood, Blood Lance, and Wings of Sanguinius. So they are all of our psychic powers, and they are all back. And they are back with slightly different mechanics and warp charges. So Wings of Sanguinius is a 6. It lets you get the fly in the psychic phase. Smite is still a 5, obviously. Unleash Rage is a warp charge of 6 as well. Blood Boil is a warp charge of 6. Blood Lance is a warp charge of 6. Shield of Sanguinius is a warp charge of 6. And Quickening is a warp charge of 6. I mean, I guess they've really unified the warp charges across the board. Bit random that they're all 6 except Smite, but I mean, I guess that is what it is. And I guess when I talked about Mephiston before, he gets 3 powers. So obviously Wings is key, Quickening is key, then for me it's always Unleash Rage or Shield of Sanguinius. It depends what else you're running, right? Depends on Shield of Sanguinius if you need to keep something alive, Unleash Rage if you're trying to buff a unit with a bunch of extra attacks. Any chance to have the list accessible maybe from the Facebook group to download them and follow along at home? Yeah, I mean, maybe I could post the lists beforehand in the Facebook group. I had to post it in like 5 different comments, Origin, because like one comment was too long and it was very wall of texty. But yeah, maybe we could figure out a way to share the lists in a better way. So, but I mean, yeah, they are in the comments now. But yeah, maybe I put them into the comments before the stream starts. Maybe that would work. Do you know what? I'll just put. Can I go into my own live stream? Yes. Okay. And we'll just start with Joe. He actually said bad list for me to review. Alright, so we'll try and keep them updated as we work through. I guess if you won't see comments, I don't think, in real time, but if you refresh the page, maybe... yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about the Space Marine Codex, and having access to their psychic powers will be quite useful, but for the moment, Mephiston doesn't get any of them, so we're just on... the Blood Angels ones. Alright, so let's get this guy, let's get this list rolling at least a little bit. So we've got a Primaris Lieutenant in this list. I'm being blind. Primaris Lieutenant. It's P. Library, like this. Oh, does it come under Lieutenant? Alright, it's under Lieutenants and then it's a Primaris. Oh, because you pick 2 Lieutenants. Alright, so this is just one Primaris Lieutenant with a Master Crafted auto bolt rifle. What does Master Crafted do? Just each shot is 2 damage. Okay. I mean, that seems average at best for 75 points. Alright, then we move on to elites. Let me just fire some of these things in. This is a battalion, so I guess we'll come back to troops. We have a Dreadnought with Assault Cannon, Combat Weapon and Stormbolter, Dreadnought, Assault Cannon, Combat Weapon, Stormbolter, yep. 5-man Sanguinary Guard squad. Seems small. This is a 2,000 point list. I have tried running smaller squads of Sanguinary Guard. I don't like it. I feel like... I was going to say, I feel like you need more than 5 for the squad to be really effective, but I mean, I guess this list is running 5 Infernal Pistols and 5 Axes. It's interesting, but I mean, I still think it's only 10 wounds to shoot them off the board. I don't like that, I guess. And then it's a Terminator squad. No, that's Vanguard, sorry. Terminator squad with just the basic armament, so all power fists. Yeah, all power fists and Stormbolters. The Sergeant obviously has that power sword. He's got 195 points for this, so I assume that means he took the teleport home or he just didn't write it down, because that's how you get that 195 points. For troops, we have Assault Intercessors, times 2 squads of 5. No special weapons. An Intercessor squad of 10. And these guys have the regular bolt rifles. The Sergeant has... we have one auxiliary grenade launcher, and he hasn't put any special weapon on the Sergeant, so I don't know why it's only 200. The assault grenade launcher is 5, so I guess he made a mistake there. They made grenade launchers 5 points. They used to be 2 points or 1 point. I mean, that seems pretty rough. I mean, a crack grenade isn't that good. at 30 inches, I guess. But I mean, I guess that's what it is. I mean, usually when you throw a crack grenade, you do like 1 damage, if that. It's almost like you just throw the crack grenade and you're like, yeah, it's not going to do anything. And then we have a tactical squad, which has also 10 men, but 1 heavy weapon in this tactical squad and 1 special weapon. So the special weapon and a heavy weapon. The special weapon is a plasma gun. The heavy weapon is a heavy bolter. I've considered the auxiliary support detachment to add a single unit for 2 CP, add a normal librarian with Space Marine powers, but it's a bit costly. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to decide if the Space Marine powers are that valuable. Psychic Fortress seemed really nice, and Null Zone seemed really nice. But I think when I was using Psychic Fortress, you were only really ever trying to protect 1 unit, really, anyway. So maybe Shield of Sanguinius is just as good. It does seem strange that Shield of Sanguinius does a single unit, and it's a warp charge of 6, because I feel like the warp charge of Psychic Fortress was also 6, and that's a bubble. So, I mean, like, I was expecting Shield of Sanguinius to be less. Greetings just subbed as getting involved with Blood Angels Massive. Oh, nice, welcome. Thank you for subbing. Much appreciated. Sorry if you can... Yeah, we've been cleaning the house this weekend, and yeah, we have to have the doors open for like cleaning products, so if you can hear the baby in the background, sorry about that today. It's not... Normally I get the wife to shut the doors. It can put me off as well, so if I get lost, it'll be because of the baby. So I think 2 weeks ago in the stream, she was just like at the door. She's learned to knock, so she's just like knocking on the door, like, "Come on, Daddy, I know you're in there. What are you doing?" They're making everything multiples of 5. I've noticed, probably to make exact list building easier. Yeah, they are making everything multiples of 5. I'm not sure I like it because there's definitely things that I feel like aren't worth 5. But I mean, I guess that's the way the Codex is going at the moment. Alright. So yeah, there's other questions about this list then. So we've got 4 troop choices, 2 assault intercessors, the large intercessor squad, the large tactical squad with the heavy bolter and the plasma gun, Dreadnought Sanguinary Guard Terminators, and then fast attack next. Squad of Inceptors, so these guys got a bit of a buff actually, and these guys are going to run with the plasmas. I think these guys could be pretty useful with the new Codex. There's a stratagem that essentially lets them hit on 2s, which could be very useful. We have a repulsor in this list, just a regular repulsor. The repulsor always has a shitload of weapon options to figure out, doesn't it? It's got like the heavy onslaught cannon, it's got Iron Tail Heavy Stubber, Stormbolter ×2, another Heavy Stubber, auto launchers. So I think this is the other Heavy Stubber. What else has it got? The Twin Heavy Bolter. I like changing this to a Twin Las Cannon for 10 points. It seems like almost like a no-brainer. I mean, the Heavy Bolter's got better, but like just having the punch of a Twin Las Cannon is always nice to have. I was actually playing a game right at the beginning of 9th edition where I got charged, my repulsor, by like a squad of aggressors, and for the Twin Las Cannon, I rolled the 6/6 on the Overwatch. It was honestly like the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen. So yeah, I mean, I like having a couple of Las Cannons on there. And we got a Razorback, and that's a dedicated transport, and it has what? Another Twin Las Cannon. Again, the Razorback with a Twin Las Cannon is pretty cost effective. Just, they only hit on 3s, which is the one downside of them, and then a Rhino as well. And is that bringing us out to just shy of the max number of points? I think there was a mistake in the list because I didn't see what weapon these guys had, and there must have been one other mistake somewhere, because he said the list was 1990 points. No, I think that's right. Alright, so he's got 15 points to play with. Then with your 15 points to play with, by all means, yeah, take the twin las cannon over here for sure. Or replace the stubber, which is pretty useless. What, heavy 4, 4-1, replace it with a Gatling cannon. Heavy 8, so twice as many shots and you've got 1 extra strength. Same range, right? Or does the stubber shoot further now? Okay, I thought the stubbers were 26, now they're... Sorry, 24, now they're 36 maybe. Parenting is more important than plastic toy soldiers. Is it though? I mean, and some of them are metal, so you've got to take that into account. And they are pretty badass toy soldiers. You've got yourself another list. I'll be here next week if you need some explaining. All right, yeah, I love. Yes, please send over your list. That's absolutely fine. If you're looking at running 4 troops for 2 CP, you could take a patrol detachment and get 2 more HQ slots. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that as well. There's something to be said about like HQs being less worthwhile in 9th edition, right? If you think about 8th edition, for example, everybody was running 2 battalions, or, Space Marine players were using scouts to get round that, to fill out the battalions. Like, when I was running it, I was running like 1 battalion with intercessors and 1 battalion with scouts. And because you were running those 2 battalions, you could then have 6 HQ, and I think a lot of my armies in 8th edition had 6 HQ. But in 9th edition, I don't think I've ever run... I think I've run one time. I've run more than one detachment, and I ran 4 HQ. I don't think there's room now to run more than maybe you can push 4 HQ. I think beyond that, you obviously take the CP hit for having that second detachment, but HQ are obviously a lot less powerful now. Captains don't get to reroll their own ones, lieutenants don't get to reroll their own wounds. A lot of things now maybe say core, whereas before they just did everything. Certain units like tanks and vehicles obviously aren't core, so they don't get the HQ buffs again. So I think they've tried in this edition to push us away from having armies that have so many HQ. Just make sure I hear for the stream when my horde list is scheduled. That's the one with 60 assault intercessors. I don't have you on the next 2 weeks, Nukem. I don't know if you submitted a list and I missed it, but I guess if you can if you can go again. Sometimes I did change how you submit lists now. You do it over in the community tab, so maybe I missed it. Now that this book is getting into our hands, needs to hit some kind of old list purge and reset, maybe. Group thoughts. Well, we only have next week's lists, and you know what? Next week's lists, I think, Robin, have been submitted. 2 of them have been, one submitted on the 3rd, one submitted on the 6th, so it's probably only 2 lists. I guess if Mika and J Dat are here, maybe they can submit their lists again. And do you know what? If there is a backlog, maybe over the Christmas holidays I can have a little bit more time and we can do an extra stream or 2 to catch up and clear. Because I'm sure people will have a lot of questions about the new book, right? So catching those up will be great. And I guess some of you guys watched the stream by Vanguard Tactics before. I did not, but I plan on catching it later tonight if I can. Time allowing, right? I will definitely check that out. And do you know what? I think the thing that I noticed, I flicked through the stream really quickly. He talks a little bit about secondaries, and that's something we don't talk a lot about on the stream or on my channel. Good secondaries to pick for Blood Angels, and now I guess that we have a bunch of new secondaries that you can use, and maybe someone can confirm this, like Robin, you've got the book, for example. Can you now pick secondaries from both the Space Marine Codex and the Blood Angels Codex? Obviously you can't pick 2 in the same category, but could I pick the Linebreaker version from the Space Marine Codex? Sorry, from the Blood Angels Codex. Could I pick the Oath of Moment? I can't remember what Oath of Moment comes under from the Space Marine Codex, and then pick one other from, let's say, the map. Can you pick secondaries from both books now? Is my question. Maybe someone that's got has already got the Blood Angels Codex could just double confirm that. So That'll be really interesting, and we could. And Carrie, you have updated your list. Is your list on to today's? All right, so I guess when I get to yours, Carrie, the file section of the Facebook page, I have no idea where that is. I'm not a huge Facebook user. I just use it for talking about Warhammer. Alright, there's actually a files tab. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, and you made it in Battlescribe as well. Even better. So I'll just download that, and that will save me making it in Battlescribe. Cool. Thank you. Okay. That's a new thing. I guess if you were in the Facebook group, there's a tab that's called Files, and you can put files up. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so let's have a look at Joe's list, and let's see if we can't score Joe's list and get moved on to the next one. Where was my... Here we go. Alright, so we got 4 troop choices, 2 big 10-man troop choices. I mean, I don't know if I would choose to have that many. I mean, I guess you're banking on having a couple of objectives in your own deployment zone. I'm also not a huge fan of the repulsor. I mean, they're very expensive. They have no invulnerable save. I mean, they do have toughness 8 and 16 wounds, but I mean, if they're getting hit, like, the meta right now is very multi-melta dependent, right? So if they're getting hit by multi-meltas, there's no save. If someone reserves like a Devastator squad with multi-meltas or uses a drop pod with multi-meltas, you could lose that repulsor before it even gets to fire. I think multi-meltas are going to be nerfed, right? Like, it's a big problem right now for certain lists. I love the Plasma Intercessors. They're definitely a great deep strike, and they can take some things out. Sanguinary Guard Squad feels small, and I don't know necessarily who they're going to go with. Maybe they're going to go with Mephiston. This Lieutenant for 75 points, I'm really not sure what he's bringing to the battle either. I mean, maybe he's letting you reroll wounds on like an Assault Intercessor squad, or I think if you watch any of my videos recently, you'll have seen how great some of the characters that we can make are, and I guess now with characters being able to join the Death Company, the video that I put up on Friday talks so much about how we can make some great characters to join the Death Company. Obviously this list doesn't have a Death Company, but still, I mean, if you don't have a single Death Company character, then you can't use any of your Death Visions, and those are 3 really powerful abilities that I guess you can use every battle. So I have a battle coming up this week, and the weather has been terrible, so I don't know if I can spray my new bike Death Company colours yet, so I might not do a Death Company like character, but I think in the future I would be surprised if most Blood Angels lists don't start including 1 Death Company character, just to unlock the ability of the 3 Death Company stratagems. Thanks for coming to hang out, Nukem, and hey, welcome, Dracula. Alright, so if you, I guess if people are watching and have the new book, then please update your lists and send me a new copy of them, because that way we can just be more accurate, and like Robin said, we're not gonna be reviewing lists that use the old rules. But yeah, so anyway, objective secured seems solid on this. I mean, it's more troops than I would like to run, but I mean, I guess it's a 10-man squad of intercessors with rapid fire weapons. I mean, if you get deep striked against, and I guess the Space Marines equally, the tactical squad, you can off-spec scan and do a whole lot of damage back. So I mean, we've got that going for it. How's this list going to manage clearing, I guess? That might be a little bit trickier. Clearing out infantry. I mean, our repulsor is great, but like I said, it could, the repulsor is like the ultimate for like taking out infantry and clearing. I mean, your plasma intercessors, I guess, could clear infantry. Your terminators with stormbolters could clear infantry. Assault intercessor squads clear infantry. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could clear infantry on this list. I think it's probably fine to say it's like a 4 or 4.5. It's just not something that I would pick because I think it would struggle a little bit. And I'm also not sure. I mean, like, I guess the tactical squadron may be in the Rhino. I mean, they would have to be. Nothing else can go into the Rhino. Or, I mean, I guess no, I don't think Rhinos can carry jump pack troops, so I think the only option would be your tactical squad in the Rhino. Okay, so, I mean, I guess clearing infantry, I guess you've probably got enough in this list to handle that. It does seem a little different to the normal Blood Angels lists that I look at. And then I guess for anti-vehicle, anti-monster, I think it's going to struggle a bit. I mean, you've got that one small squad of Sanguinary Guard that have Infernal Pistols. I guess you've got the Power Fists and the Terminators. You've maybe got Mephiston, but his damage is kind of unreliable. The Inceptor squad could do it, but yeah, I think you're going to struggle a bit with vehicles. I don't know if the units that you have are going to be able to tank enough to get to where they need to be to kill the vehicles. Sorry, Robin, what did you send me on Messenger? Mobility in this list? I guess like the Rhino, the Tactical Squad, one Jump Bat Squad, a Deep Striking Terminator Squad, I guess Mephiston with his wings, and then I guess you could have like an Assault Intercessor Squad or two in the Repulsor. So, I mean, mobility is probably okay as well. It's not good and it's not bad, so maybe like 3.5, and then I think I'm going to score this list down a little bit in specialization, because specialization usually talks about like well, that hasn't worked. Oh, I think I put a comment here. Specialization usually is like if the list only does one thing really well. Well, I think if the enemy has like some big characters and stuff, and also has some sort of way to remove your repulsor before you start, you're going to have, or at least every time I've run a repulsor in 9th edition, if it's not been dead in turn 1, it's been dead in turn 2. A pick of the paragraph about secondary objectives. Is this from the... Oh, this is actually what it says in the Space Marine, in the new Codex, is it? Better than I deserve for the wording. Okay. Cool, let's have a look. In every model in your army, excluding Agents of the Imperium Unaligned, has a Blood Angels keyword, and your Warlord has the Blood Angels keyword. You can, if playing a matched battle that instructs you to select secondary objectives, select one of them to be from the Blood Angels secondary objective list below. Like all other secondary objectives, each of the secondary objectives listed below, they must follow normal rules. Okay, so that's what it says in the new Blood Angels Codex, is that correct? Let me get the... Okay, so in the Space Marine Codex, it says basically the exact same text, and it just says if your Warlord has the Adeptus Astarte as keyword, you can select a secondary objective from the list below. So yeah, I think the way that's worded then is that you can have one secondary from the Blood Angels Codex and one from the Space Marine Codex. I guess similar to how you can have like one Warlord trait, you know, like on the one that we talked about, how you could have one Warlord trait and you could have one from the Space Marine Codex and one from the Blood Angels. So, I mean, that's great. You read it to take it from both. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. So, I think for no mercy, no respite then, for No Mercy, No Respite, we could take it from, because I think Oath of Moment from the Space Marine Codex is really strong. For Battlefield Supremacy, this one is super good for us, I guess. And then the challenge one is actually interesting as well, where you basically challenge the enemy character. You challenge one of their characters, and if your character kills it, this one always used to be great in 8th edition. It was slightly different, right, in 8th edition, in that you could basically, upon Wings of Fire, right down next to the character, then you could Descent of the Angels and get the 3d6 charge, and then it was like a Smash Captain, and you would just you basically be able to delete the enemy's Warlord off the board at any point they've not screened him properly. And I think this one is kind of similar. It might just take one extra turn to get there because Upon Wings of Fire doesn't bring you off the board and bring you back in the same turn. The one interesting thing I think about Upon Wings of Fire now that somebody actually told me about was, I didn't actually think of this, but Upon Wings of Fire, you could play this in turn 1. So use the stratagem in your movement phase. Select one Blood Angels jump pack unit from your army and remove it from the battlefield. So normally when you deploy, you need to deploy half your force on the battle, right? So if it's a 2,000 point game, 1,000 points of your units need to start on the board. So you could do that where you literally have 1,000 points in reserve. Or I think it's less than, so you can have 999 points on reserve and 1,001 points on the battlefield. And then on turn 1 you could just instantly pay Wings of Fire to pick up a large 300 point Sanguinary Guard or something, take them off the board, and then on turn 2 when you deep strike you could have 1,300 points deep striking in or something. And the intention is to mix and match. Cool, so we got some cool new options then with the objectives. Let me go back to scoring this one real quick. Lost my sheet. So, yeah, I think this one is quite specialised. It also seems quite... I don't know if there's a lot of synergy here, right? The characters, normally you take characters that are synergising or buffing. I mean, Mephiston maybe can unleash rage on, There's not even a good target for him to unleash rage on. So, I kind of want to say, the specialisation is 2.5. I think overall this is a weaker list, in my opinion. And it's also not a list I would run, I think. Because I'm not... like we said, vehicles now only ever hit on 3s, they can't be buffed. The Sanguinary Guard are so small that they could get picked off very easily. A tactical squad is fine, but a tactical squad isn't the strength of the Blood Angels. Melee combat is more, I'd probably lose that whole tactical squad, take some elites, maybe a Death Company that can deep strike to push, push an enemy off an objective. And I would definitely take at least one other character, maybe I'd take one of these new Blood Angels characters. If you're around or you watch the stream back, then go watch the last couple of videos that we've done on the Chaplain on the bike, the Death Company characters, the Smash Captains. There's definitely another character that you could take here. And there's also some really low pointed characters that we can get now that are very effective. Hey Hydra, in the Files tab, posted a spreadsheet for the next week's. Pick the most recent one. I posted 2 spreadsheets for next week. Alright, so you've updated your list for next week. Is that what you're saying? Had you submitted a list before for next week, or is this the first submission? Alright, so if anyone has a score for Joe, please put it in the chat. And if anyone has any comments on how we think Joe's list could be better, again, put them in the chat as well. And I'll quickly add that. And I guess next we'll move on to Carrie, and I believe Carrie actually just sent me his latest list, so I can just open it here. So this should save me messing around. Yeah, I mean, if you guys ever want to submit your lists via Battlescribe as well, that's totally cool with me. I'm very familiar with Battlescribe. I haven't been using it recently because the points values for Forge World and stuff aren't 100% updated, but I do commonly use it. You know, once we get a little bit deeper into this edition and all the points costs are correct. All right, Hydra, I will pick that up for next week and add it. I'll put that in another tab so don't forget to do it. All right. So this is Carrie's list, and let me see if he said anything with his list when he submitted it. He's a new player just starting out, and he normally battles Grey Knights. Alright, a tactical squad loaded in the Rhino to hold objectives. Judicar and Redemptor Dread are connected at the hip and used as a flanking unit in Death Company in reserve. Alright, so some of it might have changed a little bit, but this is the gist of what he said. Alright, cool. So Adams scored you 16 out of 25, and he said you can't see the value in the repulsor. Could take 2 impulsors and still have a change to upgrade the other units with more models or war gear, and also look at synergizing characters. Yeah, I mean, I think I probably scored it quite high because it can hold a lot of objectives, but yeah, I mean, the no synergies is a problem. And then I guess Will has said bigger Sanguinary Guard, which I agree with for sure. Character synergies, and Moz also said a Redemptor Dreadnought. Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably make that work. The Redemptor is one of my go-to picks. I have run him like a lot in 9th edition. I'm not running him in my current list, but I have run him quite a lot. Okay. Right, so let's get on to Carrie. Yeah, I'm not sure either what value that lieutenant really added either. Okay, so Carrie, we start with Chief Mephiston, and I guess his powers have changed a little bit, so we won't touch too much on that. We have the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, who has the Litany of Faith, the Canticle of Hate, so we can add 2 to our charge rolls. We can ignore mortal wounds on 5+. We have the Champion of Humanity, so he's kind of like a character killer. I need to double check. Champion of Humanity is like bonus attacks, I think, if you're near enemy characters. If you're within the gauge of an enemy character, then add 1 to the Warlord's attack. Each time this Warlord makes a melee attack against an enemy character, add 1 to the hit and wound roll. Adding 1 to the hit and wound roll is actually not that useful here, Carrie, because that Chaplain's probably going to hit on 2s anyway, and he's probably going to, like, if it's a character, unless it's like a monster, you're probably going to end up wounding on like 2s or 3s again anyway. The new Blood Angels one, Gift of Foresight, I think is way better. I mean, maybe the +1 attacks is useful, but I think you'll probably be able to kill him in 1 turn of combat anyway. I think we're good at the moment, Robin. I'll let you know if there's any more Codex questions. The Master of Sanctity, so we can get both powers off. The Flesh Render Grenades, that's a really strange choice. I mean, I guess you think you're going to throw the grenades at a unit and then charge in. I mean, I guess let's come back to that, see who he's partnered up with. And he is the Warlord, and then we've got the Sanguinary Priest, but surprisingly no jump pack here. Alright, so the Priest is foot slogging it, I guess. Alright, for troops, got a lot of troops. 2 default Assault Intercessor squads, 2 Intercessor squads, and then 1 tactical squad with a missile launcher. Oh, old school missile. I've not seen anyone run a missile launcher for a little while. Cool. 5 troops is a lot, I guess, for me. And I guess you said maybe the tactical squad was in the Rhino. So that's 2 people in a row that have run tactical squad Rhinos. I mean, what do tactical Marines have? Is it just 1 attack? Let me double check that. Because, like, as you get into late game, right, the strength of a Blood Angel's list is close combat. And a tactical squad jumping out a Rhino can maybe rapid fire, but I mean, you're not going to get much out of a rapid fire tactical squad. You're going to get, like, 20 shots, hitting on 3s, maybe wounding on 4s. I mean, your assault intercessors get 26 attacks at that point, and they're half the points cost. So I'm not sure I see a whole lot of value in a tactical squad like that. If you wanted something powerful to come out the Rhino, I think you need to do something like Stern Guards, where every unit can take a combi weapon or a master crafted bolt gun, I think, which is a special issue bolt gun where every shot is 2 damage, I think, in the Stern Guard. Tactical squad is not doing it for me. That's my thought about that. Death Company with Thunderhammer, Power Fist, Chainsword. I mean, I guess that's fine. Usually when I run it, I just have 1 Power Fist or 1 Thunderhammer and a 5-man, but having 1 extra is probably fine. Judicar, you said, went around with the Redemptor Dreadnought. The Redemptor Dreadnought is basically a wave clear one, heavy onslaught cannon, heavy flamer. The Sanguinary Ancient, I'm in 2 minds about this right now. I'm not sure I'm running the Sanguinary Ancient in my armies anymore. He's not super strong. He's not survivable. I think there's easier ways to get... Like, you can give a unit +1 to hit, right? But I think there's easier ways to get that, or more effective ways to get that. I guess, because if you've already got 3 HQ and you're set on these HQ, then maybe there isn't. But I'd probably just... Like, your Sanguinary Guard are probably going to be running with next to the Primaris Chaplain. So I'd probably just activate Litany of Hate so you can reroll everything. And the Sanguinary Guard will get +1 because they're next to him because he's a Warlord, because of their Heir's ability. So they'll be hitting on 2s anyway if they're with axes, and they'll be hitting on 3s on Power Fist. They'll be re-rolling everything, so it won't be that big a deal. I'm not sure the value in the Sanguinary Ancient, especially right now. He costs the same as 4 more Sanguinary Guard. It's a bit crazy. So Vanguard Tactics said that the Wrath of Baal is worthwhile if you build your list around 3 jump pack units. Yeah, I mean, the issue I have with Wrath of Baal is, I guess there's 2 ways you can play jump pack units, right? You can start them on the board, or you can start them off the board. If you start them on the board, there's a very good chance that they will take fire before they get to the enemy's lines. And I think they'll take fire with or without Wrath of... what is it called again? Wrath of Baal. It's just +2 to the movement, right? So if you think about them, they already move 12... And then you get to advance D6, and we already get +1 advance. So basically, you move a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 19. With Wrath of Baal, I guess you're moving a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 21. I'd almost argue, like, if there's no cover that you can get into within 14 inches, is there going to be cover you could get into that's 16 inches? You know, like, 14 inches is quite a large move. Most deployment zones in 9th edition are around 24 apart, I think. Maybe some of them are slightly less, some of them are slightly more, but I think it's around 24. So you're basically saying, like, in the no man's land between the 2 deployment zones, there's not a single piece of cover in your half, or there's not a piece of cover halfway. Like, I'm not sure, right? So, I mean, typically when I've played Sanguinary Guard on the board and off the board, and I usually make the call. Like, I don't go into a battle going, like, I'm going to start these guys off the board. I see what my enemy's list is, and then when we declare the reserves, I sort of look at their list and go, yeah, you know, these guys could get across the board or they could not get across the board. And if I feel they can't get across the board, then I deep strike them. And I feel like if they can get across the board, I put them on the battlefield. And I guess because obviously deep strike isn't a guaranteed charge, right? You can drop down and you can fail that 9-inch, or sorry, that it's a 9-inch charge, but you need to roll an 8, right? So you can drop down, you can fail that 8, and even if you pay 1 CP, you can still fail that 8 again. So I guess like you have to decide if you feel like you can get across the board, and if you can, go for it by all means. But 125 points to give you 2 more inches of movement. I'm not even sure he picked that. No, he gave this guy the armor Indomitus. Is that valuable? I don't know. I don't think so. And he does only have 4 wounds. I guess the armor Indomitus is just to give him an additional wound because, yeah, he already has a 2+ save and he has no invulnerable save. I don't know. I've not had success with the Sangre Ancient. He used to be 85 points, and at 85 points I would take him all day. And obviously he would give everything around him a 5+ feel no pain. Now I just don't feel like it's worth it. I'm trying to think, like, let's go on and let's come back to this guy. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Sanguinary Guard. So 8 makes a lot of sense. 7 to 9 I think is the sweet spot for Sanguinary Guard. And that gives you plenty of killing power. Maybe a little bit overkill if you go with 9, but enough to basically jump into any enemy unit and delete them. Next up, there's a squad of Eradicators, and then there's the Rhino. You know, 3 Eradicators is fine, but 3 Eradicators are never going to be amazing. So, you know, I would maybe consider dropping that Sangre Ancient for 3 more Eradicators. It's very similar in point costs. I like the Judicar with the Redemptor Dreadnought. I mean, that makes sense to me. I am going to review if Librarian Dreadnought against Mephiston, but I guess you can have the 3 powers with Mephiston and he can fly again. But yeah, it just... There's a lot. I guess if I had to change this list so I was playing it, there's probably 2 things I would change. One is I'd probably try and give my Sanguinary Priest a jump pack so he can be with my other forces. I'd probably pay the Sanguinary Priest Hero of the Chapter and give him that Selfless Healer ability, wherever it is. Selfless Healer. Can't find it. It's not a Legends option. Our Battle Scribe maybe doesn't have it at the moment, that's why you haven't picked it. But yeah, Selfless Healer on the Sanguinary Priest lets him heal. Oh, you have to pay 15 points to make him the Chief of Apothecary, don't you? And then you can take Selfless Healer, yeah. So Selfless Healer lets him revive 1 unit per turn. And then when he goes to heal a unit, he heals a flat 3 rather than D3. So, I mean, like, that... It basically just brings any unit you've got back to full health. I mean, you don't have. I guess your Sanguinary Guard are the ones that are going to be forward, so you're just basically going to be able to heal 1 Sanguinary Guard, 1 unit from another squad, and then bring a Sanguinary Guard back to life. So, yeah, thanks for Adam, the Chief. I haven't been running the healer for a little while, but yeah, I mean, let's get that. If we have to, I would drop some of these tactical marines for sure. I don't think there's a whole heap of value in them. I mean, I guess you're unloading on a Rhino. You're unloading the Rhino on objective, maybe to obsec it, but they're not going to do great in combat. And yeah, I mean, I just don't agree with the Sangre Ancient pick. I would pick something that gives you again. You could possibly... I mean, the Sanguinary Ancient alone costs 4 Sanguinary Guard, so you could almost maybe have like 2 squads of 7 at that point if you drop him. If you really want to keep your Rhino in your tactical squad, let's make it a 5-man Rhino and just put like a Flamer in so they can jump out and they can flame someone. You know, so you save 100 points on that. And I guess you did say you were a new player, Carrie, so I guess if you're a new player, I'd probably pick up like a squad of Vanguard veterans. Vanguard Veterans are really interesting. There's a lot of options you can do with them. I run them in just about every battle. Vanguard Veteran Squad, they're 95 points for 5 of them. I guess 105 if you give them jump packs. So at this point, they're 20 points cheaper than your priest. You can give them all storm shields. So 2 plus 4 plus save, right? And I guess even if you give them all. So if you have 5 of these guys with storm shields, so this is a very tanky unit. You know, it's 10 wounds, 2 plus save, and 4 plus invulnerable save. So like, then if you can drop a bunch of these tactical marines. I mean, maybe even drop the Rhino and the Vanguard Veterans. You could do some nifty things, right? Like. I'm actually, in the moment, converting a Vanguard Veteran. I'm buying some heads on eBay to make these guys pretty cooler. But this is going to be my Sergeant for the Vanguard Veteran. And he has a Relic Blade, which is 10 points, and an Infernal Pistol. So basically 15 points on this guy. And he'll be able to deal out like a ton of damage, right? So you could run the other 4 with just chainswords and storm shields, and I've talked about this before. If you did that, then basically you're never going to take the wounds on the sergeant, right? So the sergeant who's running, where the hell is Relic Blade? Up here, Relic Blade and Infernal Pistol for 5 points. That put 4 Infernal Pistols. I don't know why Battlescribe lets you do that. Now 41 Infernal Pistols. Hold on a second. And that's going to lag the game, I guess, while it tries to put 41 pistols on. Jumping into 40k after 10 years, looking at Blood Angels. Any tips, anything to avoid? I guess it depends if you have any units at the moment, Robert. If you're looking at where to get started, we can definitely give you some advice on that. So, if you think about this squad of Vanguard Veterans, at 11 points more than your Sanguinary Ancient, they have like 6 more wounds, they have a 4 plus invulnerable save, they can deal out a ton more damage. I mean, is really +1 to hit on the Sanguinary Guard that already really hit well? Worth it? If Vanguard Tactics is obviously a pretty legit channel, and that guy knows a lot of stuff about Blood Angels. I mean, I was going to watch his video later tonight if I get a chance. So if he thinks that the Sanguinary Ancient isn't worth it without 3 jump pack units, then I would say, you know, like I've been trying to work out, is it worth it, is it not worth it? I think I'll go with what he says and say if you aren't running 3 jump pack units, then don't bother with the Sanguinary Ancient. So I drop the Ancient, half the tactical squad, and pick up something else. Vanguard Veterans would definitely be an option. I mean, I guess more Eradicators could be an option, or yeah, I mean, if you're a new player and you're wanting to dive further into, you did have some Vanguard Veterans on your list to pick up. If you're a new player and you want to dive into something more ambitious, though, there is some great Forge World options in the new book. I was actually going to maybe see about picking up one myself in the near future, but yeah, or Stern Guards as well. Stern Guards and a Rhino would be a lot more effective than this tactical squad, that's for sure, because every member of the Stern Guard, 5 of them are 100 points, but they have the special issue bolt gun, which is, I'm sure it's alright, so it's -2 AP. It's still 1 damage. Sorry, I guess I got that wrong. But the interesting thing with the Stern Guards is everyone can take combi weapons, right? So you could have all 5 of them with combi flamers. So when you pop out of your Rhino, you've got your same rapid fire 2 bolt gun shot, but then you've got auto hitting flamers, and you would get 5d6 of them if you had Stern Guards. Yeah, sure, they're not troops, but I think it's. I don't think you're going to get a huge amount of value out of a tactical squad jumping out of a Rhino. They're not going to do any killing. Maybe you're going to contest an objective or something like that. So, I have nothing at all, not even a pair of clippers. Alright, Robert. Well, yeah, if you're looking to get started with Blood Angels, then I guess if you've got nothing at all, you need to get a HQ and a few troop choices. If you watch the channel, then troops, a a great place to start would be a box of infiltrators. A box lets you create two units of infiltrators. I swear by them. I run them every game. I think they're the best troop choice that we can have at the moment. And the box basically lets you, they're infiltrators or incursors in the same box. And some people absolutely love incursors. The Phobos troops are very strong. So I would say definitely consider getting a box of those. I also think if you haven't started anywhere, the Librarian Dreadnought might be really interesting. I think I'm going to do a video about Librarian Dreadnought comparing him up to Mephiston this week, because we've seen multiple people already picking Mephiston back up. Is Mephiston the best choice? The Librarian Dreadnought is a little bit more flexible than Mephiston, obviously, because he's not a named character and you can do a bit more with him. And then after that, Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, like Adam said. Just avoid the Death Company Intercessors. Yep. The Death Company Intercessors aren't that good at the moment. And you know what's a bit sad is the Death Company Intercessors box doesn't actually come with like any Death Company shoulder pads or anything. It's just a standard Blood Angels box. So, I mean, that's a little bit disappointing as well. So if you're going to buy some Death Company, you need to buy some of the older ones. So, alright, let's score up Carrie. And bear in mind, he is a new player. So, I mean, I guess it's hard not to score you above like 4.5 for OBSEC when you have 5 troop choices. But I just don't think I would take the tactical squad really. But I do like having some intercessors if you're running assault intercessors, because assault intercessor is always going to push forward. You need something for backfield holding, right? And nice, Carrie. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. A couple of bucks to add to your model money pool. Yeah. If you need any more help, please hit me up in the Facebook group. I will definitely happy to help you there. If any of your future purchases or you want to know where to go, and then I guess. I guess if you've never delved into the lands of Forge World because you've got nothing Forge World on your list, then that could be interesting as well. The Primaris Dreadnought, the Redemptor Dreadnought, is really strong, and they're actually more survivable than the tanks at the moment because they have the Duty Eternal rule, Robert, so that's definitely an option as well. A lot of people are running this Redemptor Dreadnought. All I'd say is if you buy one, definitely magnetize it. Yeah, so I like that you have Assault Intercessors that are pushing forward. If you are going to run like a regular Intercessor squad to sit on the backfield objective, then you could consider running the Stalker Bolt Rifles. I mean, if they're static and they're not moving, it has an additional -1 AP, and it does do flat 2 damage. So if they're not going to move much, something to consider as well. I'm not sure if you did it here, but you didn't do it. Your Assault Intercessors, their Sergeants can take chainswords for free. It's really annoying that because they released those kits, right? So everybody built their Assault Intercessors, and then afterwards they changed the rules. So afterwards they changed the rules on the regular Intercessors, so the Sergeants can take a free chainsword. It basically just gives them 1 extra attack and an additional -1 AP on all their attacks, right? So what you need to do is go on to eBay. If you don't have any spare chainswords, you can always find like Horus Heresy chainswords that are like basically like, I don't know, just eBay chainsword. Because I found some on here. See these ones with the hands attached? They're no use. But you can definitely find chainswords without hands attached. I mean, if you... Yeah, look, here's ones. So like, this guy's selling ones without hands attached for $1. So buy 2 of these and just glue them to the guy's hilt, right? Like, saves you doing any conversion work at all. Just spray it, paint it, and glue it to his belt. And then you just added more killing power to these squads for free. Okay, so... I think I'm going to say 4 because I think you need to switch up your troop choices a little bit. Maybe the tactical squad. If you do really want to keep a larger tactical squad, then lose one of these intercessor squads. Against vehicles and hordes. Against infantry and hordes. So I guess the Sanguinary Guard could do work against them. Your Redemptor can do work against them. Your Death Company are great against infantry. Assault Intercessor is great against infantry. I guess Mephiston, if at a push, great against infantry. This Primaris Chaplain on a bike. I guess the one thing to say about that is this list has actually got you starting with like 11 CP. I would pay that 1 CP now for the new stratagem card that we got access to just this week. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Yeah, I think we looked at it earlier on the stream, the Angel's Exemplar, where we can give a second Warlord trait to our Warlord. So I think, yeah, you have this Librarian on the bike as your Warlord. I would remove Champion of Humanity, give him Gift of Foresight, and second Warlord trait, I would give him the special issue thing that lets you either like. Do you know what, Carrie? I was going to say, go watch the video that I did on the Chaplain at some point, because this Chaplain that you've got here, he could just be made a little bit better very quickly. Like the Benediction of Fury weapon changes his Crozius into 3 damage a hit, and 6s do mortal wounds. So like I would honestly take that and lose those flesh grenades, and then maybe give him like the Imperium Sword and Gift of Foresight. This guy would be in like an absolute truck, and he would be quite survivable as well, because the Gift of Foresight lets you reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, and 1 save each turn, and that's one of the new Blood Angels Warlord traits. And I honestly think it's super strong. You know, like we talked about how he has like 7 attacks and they all hit on 2s, and then he's got like so he'll be doing like 7 wounds and they all hit on 2s. So being able to reroll 1 of each of those is going to almost guarantee all your attacks hit and wound. With that Crozius, remember 6s are going to do mortal wounds. It's going to be -2, and each fail is 3 damage, and then being able to reroll a save each turn is going to be pretty big when you've got a 4+ invulnerable save. And another thing to remember is if your Warlord trait lets you reroll a save, then you can also CP a save as well. So, I don't know, let's say your Warlord gets caught out and he gets hit by a multi-melta and both wound and you fail both saves. You can actually reroll both saves, 1 from your Warlord trait and 1 from a CP. So you could just go from like, oh, he's going to die to a multi-melta shot to, nah, he's absolutely fine. And that's before you factor in like any sort of feel no pain or anything that he could get as well. And I believe you can give him a feel no pain if you were willing to lose one of your if you were able to lose one of your Warlord traits, because now you can take 2 Warlord traits and a relic, or you can take 1 Warlord trait, a relic, and then a special issue war gear. Love Death from Above's videos. Yeah, I watch a few of Death from Above's. His videos is pretty cool. So, yeah, I guess Hordes, I think this list is generally fine. The Assault Intercessors with like Honor the Chapter as well, they can deal with Hordes. Death Company can deal with Hordes. Sanguinary Guard can deal with Hordes. I think you have to get rid of the Sanguinary Ancient. Let me see. Anti-Vehicle or Monster. This is going to be a little bit more tricky for this list. I mean, the Mephiston and the Chaplain can do work against them. The Death Company can do a bit of work. The Sanguinary Guard, the Eradicators. But, yeah, I just think you've got too much in troops. I would definitely lose 1 troop, either half this tactical squad or 1 of these Assault Intercessors. And I guess if you're willing to lose the tactical squad, I'd probably lose the Rhino as well. I think 4 troops, 2 and 2 would be fine. Okay, so I think anti-vehicle monsters I think is about 3.5. Mobility, your HQs are generally quite mobile. I think you want to get this jump pack on this priest. So the Death Company could be mobile. The Sanguinary Ancient can be mobile. I mean, the Redemptor kind of mobile, I guess. I think as it stands, it's maybe like a 3.5, but I think with a couple of small tweaks, you could improve this as well. And then, like, specializations, that was wrong. Is it too specialized? As it stands, probably. Like, a lot of troops. But, I mean, I guess the Sanguinary Priest, because he's foot slogging, maybe he's with those troops and he's healing them. But I mean, it can do a bit of everything, and it can kill vehicles and stuff. So I think for specialization, I think, and we're okay. I think we're able to say like, I was going to say like 3.5, but maybe I've been a bit harsh on anti-vehicle monster here. I was thinking this is maybe like a 20 list. Say 3.5. Maybe this was like a 4. Maybe it's a little harsh, but I mean, it's just not. It's not what I would play. It's not what I would deem super competitive. It's not bad. Like, I think typically like a really good score, and this is like a 22, 23. An average decent score is around 20, and then sort of like the lower end is like 15 to 18, I guess. So yeah, I think as a new player, I think it's a decent list. If you're playing against other new players, I think you'll do fine. But I guess as you step up towards being a little bit more competitive, then I think just a couple of things need to change. But I think overall, like, I think your general choices are pretty good. So I guess, yeah, go ahead and think about that, and then come back to me at some point in the near future when you have something else. Alright, we are going to move on. If anyone has a score for carry, that would be super cool. We'll put it in, and then we'll move on to Will. And Will is I'm sure it's a battalion. I can't see it, but I'm sure it is. 20 out of 25 from Adam. You know, Adam rated the last list, which was 16, so Adam is pretty fair, I think. He thinks there's ways to play this list effectively, but worth backfield holding firepower and trait relic tweaks. Yeah, only reason to take an ancient is for Wrath of Baal, but some good things are here. Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. The only reason is to take the Wrath of Baal, which I don't know if it's really that. I'm not sure it's worth 125 points. I think there's better ways you could spend 125 points. If you think about it, you could take any sort of agent of the Imperium for 100 points, like an assassin that you just drop down with a 3d6 charge or something, and then have 25 points spare to pick some of those better relics or put that jump pack on your priest, you know? OGK Wiz Hadrack, thank you for subscribing. I'm never going to be able to say your name. Sorry about that. Alright, this next list then, let's start. It's a captain, it's a jump pack, it's a relic blade, and a storm shield, and the armor Indomitus. Is this the warlord, or is the other one someone else's? Librarian Dreadnought is the warlord in this list. I'm not going to pick psychic powers for Librarian Dreadnought just because they're changing, obviously. So I guess if you picked psychic powers, do you know what? We'll talk about psychic powers in the video that I do this week. Because I guess the psychic powers have changed a bit. So it's Rites of War. So basically this warlord can add obsec to anything he's around, and he's got the Meltagun, because we love a Meltagun on Librarian Dreadnought. So the captain is he's taking the armor Indomitus. So the armor Indomitus on a captain with a storm shield actually gives him a 1+ save. Someone was asking me earlier in the group, does a 1+ save mean that you never save against no AP? No, you always fail saves on 1s, but it does mean that you can just basically ignore some AP. Oh, cool. Codex for the fight last ability. Yeah, I mean, that's decent. The other assassin that's also decent is the Viscerator, for like, he's got a really nasty pistol and then he's got a charge, and one of the assassins only can get hit on 6s, right? Is it the Calidus assassin? I can't remember. There's the one psychic assassin where you can only hit it on 6s, and that's actually really good for like holding objectives. Sorry, thank you, Optimist Prime. Thank you for subscribing. Selfless Dealer doesn't show up until you click Chief Apothecary. Yeah, that is correct. Alright, so this is Will's list we're looking at next, and Will is in the chat. So he had a thought about losing the Devastator squad and the drop pod and adding a Death Company and the Captain. Alright, we'll keep that in mind as we work through. So, Tech Marine, and he's Master of the Forge. I like it. I'm running a Tech Marine with Master of the Forge at the moment. I think it's quite strong. I mean, it's the only way to get those vehicles pumped up to 2+ to hit, right? And we got two Assault Intercessor squads, and we put a Power Fist on both Sergeant. I also like this. You've been watching the channel and how I always say you need one strong weapon option in the groups, just so you can always kill something if you run into it. And Infiltrators. Love it. One Infiltrator squad says to me, these guys are going to hold the backfield. Nothing is going to deep strike near me in the backfield. They're going to do some serious value for you. So I like that a lot, Will. I just think Infiltrators are too good not to pick. I am running them in like every army list that I have. Alright, and then onto Forge World, we have a Leviathan Dreadnought with the 2 twin Volkite Cavaliers. I haven't run these yet, but my friend ran them this week and said that they were really solid. And then we run 2 Storm Cannons. I actually want to do another Math Hammer video where I compare Storm Cannons against the Gravflux, because Gravflux did get buffed. So maybe right now I can't give you a solid answer, but in the very near future, do you know what? We'll Math Hammer these weapons and we'll find out exactly what is the best. But Storm Cannons are still decent, right? Heavy 8, -1, 2 damage a shot. It's the 2 damage that really makes it the killer. So every failed save is a dead Marine, even with the 2 wounds. Codex Assassin, that's the one where you can only hit it on 6s, right? Yeah, I mean, that's amazing for doing actions or taking objectives with. It's just generally a pain in the arse, and it's also good for... it's got some anti-psychic stuff as well, doesn't it? I actually have ordered one, but it hasn't turned up yet. I guess everything is backlogged. Do you know what? It's Vanguard Tactics that's running that Calidus Assassin. I saw his list where he won the Rogue Trader tournament, and he had a Calidus... I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Calyxus Assassin, I think. Tech Marine that were following the Leviathan to give the 2+. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess the Tech Marine with the Master of the Forge, he's repairing 3 wounds on that Leviathan every turn. The Leviathan is obviously very tanky still, even with the changes they made to it. He's still super tanky. And then the Redemptor Dreadnoughts, the Macroplasma and the Onslaught. That's how I run mine. I think that's the strongest option. This Macroplasma doing 3 damage a shot now is really good, especially the fact that you can Wisdom of the Ancient it, right? So it's got core keyword, so it can reroll its ones. It's really nice. And then we've got a decent sized Sanguinary Guard coming up. And it's 2, 4, 6, 7. So yeah, I think earlier in the video I said 7 to 9 is the sweet spot for Sanguinary Guard. And we have one with an Infernal Pistol and a Power Fist. We have another one with a Power Fist, and then another one with an Infernal Pistol. And then the rest are just all with axes. I'm going to Math Hammer the swords against axes as well, actually, because some people were complaining. They were saying like they think axes is better, and some people were saying like swords is better. I think the big problem that people forget when they're comparing Blood Angel stuff, right, is Sanguinary Guard are never going to get a turn 1 engagement in close combat. If you do get a turn 1 engagement in close combat, then either your enemy has moved really badly, or you got lucky. I would say turn 2 engagement is common, but if you think about that, so let's just say turn 1 engagement is uncommon with your Sanguinary Guard, then the game's always 5 turns, so for 3 of those 5 turns, you're using the Savage Echoes, so you have that -1 AP. So for 3 of the 4 turns, so 3/4 of the game essentially, you're already on -3 with those axes, and you're wounding toughness 5 on 2s. I think that is really great. You mean worst army that I have to play against as a Blood Angel, or you just think you want to know what the worst army is in the game at the moment? Vanguard veterans, and this Vanguard veteran squad looks to be set up to do some serious infantry killing. And literally, 20 minutes after I said, look, here's this Vanguard veteran I'm making with a Relic Blade and Infernal Pistol, somebody submits a list with the exact thing that I was just saying is very powerful. So, well done on doing your homework, Will. You obviously watch some of my streams. I get, oh shit, what's it? I don't know why it's saying that. I don't want to lose it. So Vanguard Veteran Squad ready to take out a ton of infantry and also deal out the odd Infernal Pistol pop shot. Alright, so we've got the Gladiator Reaper, which is basically like the Gladiator that looks a little bit like the Ball Predator, right? With the 2 Tempest Bolters and the twin Onslaught Heavy Cannons. So this one actually performed decently. 240 points though, so it's quite an expensive tank, and it's not super survivable. So I guess one option might be actually to reserve this. Like, I'm not sure how many power level a Reaper is off the top of my head. Let me double check. The Reaper's 12 power level, so it would cost you 2 CP to reserve it. So there could be something to be said about, hello Commander, sorry I'm late. Welcome, Castellan. You've been a great help, man. You're very welcome, Will. So I might consider paying 2 CP to reserve this, and then just bring it on at the side of the battlefield and unload, what is that, Heavy 24 or something? Yeah, Heavy 24, and then those things, you don't get rapid fire on vehicles anymore unless they're within half range. So 16 shots, strength 4 -1, 24 shots, strength 6 -1, so that's 40 shots. So if you reserve it and bring it on, and you basically stop him shooting off the table. I guess if you're against a really heavy shooty list, and remember that just the tank has no invulnerable save, that's its one weakness, I guess. But I guess you could bring that on and you could basically mow down a whole squad of infantry, probably pretty effectively. The video I did on the Reaper would actually give you... Sorry, the video I did on Gladiators like 2 weeks ago would actually give you all the math hammers. So you would be able... If you watch that video again and had it fresh in your mind, you'd know exactly what target to pick with that when you bring it on from reserve, or if you manage to deploy it in a nice spot. And then... yeah, you're bringing in a Devastator squad, which I guess Devastator squads right now is it's hard to see why people wouldn't run Devastator squads, especially with multi-meltas being the 2 shots that they are. And I think, did you say there was a drop pod or something in this list? Yeah, a drop pod as well. So yeah, I mean, I've fought against numerous armies now with the drop pods, and obviously you have the Shurib. And sure, I missed something. It's the heavy stubber you put on that. I mean, is the heavy stubber? Oh, that is a heavy 4. Okay. I mean, I guess you really are just trying to mow out infantry with that tank. The drop pod, the Devastator squad, the Vanguard Veterans, the Sanguinary Guard. I've missed something because I'm a couple of points out, unless you sent me a list that wasn't quite... No, I've missed something. I missed 25 points. What have I missed? Leviathan Dreadnought, 245. Did you put a Hunter Killer on this Leviathan? Oh yeah, there's a Hunter Killer. Thank you very much for subscribing, Smirk. And... I'm not sure what else I missed. 20 points out. Maybe you can tell me what I missed, Will. 240, 175, Oh, you've costed this Devastator squad 10 points too much. Oh no, sorry. Alright, so you've put... Interesting, you've put an Infernal Pistol and a Power Sword on the Devastator squad. It's not something that I would have picked. I mean, I guess the Power Sword makes sense in that, like, the enemy are going to try and charge your Devastator squad, maybe. And I think I missed a weapon on the Vanguard because it says it's 10 points out as well. What did I miss? Oh, the Infernal Pistol. No, it did go in. Lightning Claws, Lightning Claws, Lightning Claws, Lightning Claws. Oh, did I not add the jetpacks? There we go. Okay. Cool. New to Blood Angels player, what's a solid list for casual play? I think Smirk, it depends on how many points you're going to play. If you're going to play 2,000 points, I guess probably what would be, you should probably try tuning in, because we look at 2,000 point lists every week. We look at 4 lists every week, and then usually like a random 1,000 points or something smaller. So we look at that. But if you're new and you're wondering what to buy, then I think that's a video I need to hurry up and make. I was waiting to get the new book to make sure that I could make that video without everything being out of date literally 5 minutes after I make the video. But if you're new to Blood Angels, then I think infiltrators, pick up at least you get 10 of them in a box. So start there. Librarian Dreadnought seems to be another super core unit for us. And then Sanguinary Guard or Death Company. I mean, if you bought any of those boxes and started there, and then there's a link in the video description to a Facebook group. So if you want to come into the Facebook group and ask questions about list building or core units to get to start your army, then I think that's where I would start. And maybe, I mean, if I'm going to to be totally honest, if I'm going to make a video on how to start Blood Angels, I'm probably going to pick those 4 units. But you probably need 2 boxes of Sanguinary Guard because the sweet spot of them is definitely more than 5, and it's 5 you get in the box. Okay, so this list, interesting. Did you just had to play with the list after my points in the Leviathan? All right, well, let me think for a second. So you've got a captain who's got a Relic Blade, a Storm Shield, a Jump Captain, so he can get about the board easily. You've got the Librarian Dreadnought. Again, I suppose you now take wings on him, so he can get about the board easily. The Tech Marine with the Leviathan. A lot of damage from the Leviathan. I guess the Tech Marine can join close combat if you need to clear anything out that gets engaged with it. Infiltrators to hold your backfield. Assault Intercessors to pressure opponents' objectives. Redemptor Dreadnought to, I guess, maybe move forward through the board with like the Vanguard Veterans. I imagine you probably either have the Sanguinary Guard with a Flying Dreadnought, or they would be with the Captain. The one thing to say is the Sanguinary Guard get that nice bonus for being near the Warlord, right? +1 to hit. So unless there's a huge reason that the Librarian Dreadnought's the Warlord over the Captain, it depends on who's flying forward and stuff, and I guess who you think is going to survive. But I might be tempted to put... If you were gonna deep strike like the Captain and the Sanguinary Guard together, I would definitely be tempted to have the Captain as the Warlord, so that the Sanguinary Guard get their +1 to hit everything. Vanguard Veterans, very useful squad for deleting enemy objectives or deleting troops off enemy objectives. What I'd probably do with those guys is probably deep strike them, right? And if you think about the battlefield, drop them in a quadrant at like the back of... So basically you can get all fronts easily. So you could drop them into an offensive quadrant behind terrain so that the opponent can't get them, and then basically guarantee a charge next turn or something and just get yourself the points. We could reserve the Gladiator to do a lot of damage, and obviously you've got the drop pod that you can drop in, again, that can do a ton of points. Yeah, go with the Liberty to give them OBSEC. Yeah, I mean, that would definitely work. I would probably pay the 1 CP now for that new Angel Exemplar ability to give this Librarian Dreadnought a second Warlord trait. And I think the second trait I would either give him would be maybe the the second trait has to be from the Blood Angels book, right? So, let me double check this. I think it would possibly take Gift of Foresight. The one issue, I suppose, is like he doesn't have an invulnerable save, but if you took Shield of Sanguinius and put the Shield of Sanguinius on himself or the Sanguinary Guard, that would be good. And I guess if the Librarian Dreadnought is with the Sanguinary Guard, and it is a big Sanguinary Guard, I think it was 7 you had here, what you could do is those 7 Sanguinary Guard would essentially protect him with Lookout Sir, right? So the enemy wouldn't be able to shoot him. So because he's under 10 wounds. So lots of nice options here. The only downside obviously is Librarian Dreadnought can't deep strike, whereas your captain can. Like I said, you need to, when you're playing an opponent, you need to make a call, I guess, at the beginning of the battlefield. If you rely heavily in close combat, can your guys get in close combat without taking too many losses? Because if you take too many losses, then that is a problem. And I guess now, the one thing that I guess you could do with this list that we couldn't do last week is we could take our cool Death Company cards. We could make that captain part of the Death Company, right? So the captain would get 6+ Feel No Pain. He would have the ability to give the 5+ Feel No Pain for 1 CP, and then he gets the 3 Death Visions that he can use once per battle. I feel like the strength of these Death Visions is so strong that like not having one character in the Death Company is actually going to almost be like, I don't want to say it's bad, because like my current list doesn't have anyone in the Death Company. I don't run it. My current list isn't running a captain. It's running Librarian and Dreadnought, it's running a Chaplain, and it's running a Titmarine. I guess very similar to your list, only I'm running a Chaplain on a bike, because I think that is a very strong option right now. But I mean, a Captain is good as well. I mean, they kind of do the same things. The Chaplain can just do more, he's just not as reliable, right? Would I just drop the Devastator squad for a Death Company? The way I like to run Death Company, the way I think they're probably most effective, is kind of how you've run this Vanguard Veteran squad, where it's like, I would run a 125 point Death Company and then put 1 Power Fist in it for 135 points. And I don't know if you saw the battle report I put on the channel like a couple of weeks ago against Eldar, where I just dropped down the 5-man Death Company in a quadrant, like I said, to maybe get like the all fronts rule, right? So basically, if you imagine, do you know what? This will be super rough because I'm no artist, but I'll show you what I mean. If you imagine this is the board, right? None of this is obviously to scale. And if you imagine, like, again, this isn't the middle, but you're deploying at this end. What we'll do is we'll put red over there to say that's our deployment zone, and we'll say, like, the enemy are deploying. Oh shit, that's not how you do that. And then the enemy are deploying over in blue. So the way I would use the Vanguard Veterans, I guess, is like I would drop them like there, and then you could drop the Death Company there. And if you think about, like, in 9th edition, normally the objectives are going to be like, there's going to be 2 in the enemy's deployment zone, or there's going to be like 1 here and like some on the side, right? And the idea is you deploy these guys in cover, so there's some cover there, so there's no way that they can be shot at, and then next turn you move out your 12 inches, and then you almost guarantee a charge into these objectives. And usually, like, if you think about, like, our plan of leaving infiltrators on objectives, usually the enemy will have, like, a 5-man tactical squad on objectives, or, like, in the game that I just won, like, I don't know if you saw the game against Chaos last week where I absolutely destroyed the guy, like, 80 points to 20 or something. He had 10 Chaos cultists on that objective in his backfield. So my Death Company killed 8 of them, and he had to pay 2 CP or they would have auto ran away. But what that did was, so the 5-man Death Company moved in here. What it actually did was he had like a Contemptor Dreadnought, which had it had this massive chainsword, right? Anything it got into, like, here's a cool chainsword. Anything it got into, he was going to kill. And this thing was going like that way. Well, this thing literally had to turn around and go back to his own objective. And sure, it killed the Death Company, but it just meant like I kept all my objectives in my zone. This, I don't know, 200 point Redemptor Dreadnought did nothing the whole battle except kill those Death Company back in his very own deployment zone, right? So you could do that, and I mean, would that free up some points? I mean, it would free up another 100 points, so you get one more Sanguinary Guard in there, yes. But I'm trying to think what else you would take beyond that. Like, if you watched the video last week about like the company champions, they were really interesting, right? Or I guess if you did take the, what is this, 245 points? If you did take that Death Company of like 5 guys with a Power Fist or something, you could add a couple to your Vanguard Veteran Squad, you could add another one to your Sanguinary Guard, you could maybe even add a couple to your Assault Intercessors. Bear in mind, Assault Intercessors get the ability to honour the chapter and fight first, so you can get a lot of additional value out of them for 2 CP. Very good use of paint. Could be a future video when we look at tactics to bring in some imagery. I could definitely do better, but I thought that what I could maybe do in the future was like look at some of the I obviously take photos and I video the battles that I play, so maybe like I could draw over the top of them, obviously a bit more professionally than what we just did there. You wouldn't be able to bring a second captain without taking a second detachment. I'd probably, if you were here earlier, I was saying like I think 3 HQ is probably the sweet spot. Like I think if you're paying more than like 500 points for HQ, you're probably paying too much. Like probably like 400 points in 9th edition seems to be like a really good round figure for HQ, just because HQ aren't as strong as they were before. I mean, the other option with the Devastator Squad, like I've said a couple of times, if you do want to drop a drop pod in, you could have a big Death Company with no... you could have a big Death Company with no jump packs. I need to actually double check the rules on a drop pod. Can units without... Yeah, drop pods can't transport jump packs, so you couldn't put Lamartas in there. But I suppose you could put... Yeah, I don't know if I feel like if you're going to do the drop pod strategy, you either run the Devastator Squad or you run the Stern Guard. Or you run like a Death Company without drop jump packs, and you run like Captain Tycho or another character with them. But I think, like large squad, like a 9-man Sanguinary Guard and like a few more Vanguard veterans. What might actually make a lot of sense here is like to take a couple of Vanguard veterans with storm shields. So like, let's say your enemy unloads on you, they unload like a Devastator Squad against your Vanguard veterans, and it's multi-meltas, right? So you're getting no save. So each multi-melta is going to delete one Vanguard veteran. Then if you did have a few with Storm Shields, then you could choose to take those saves on the guys with Storm Shields, potentially keep the squad alive a little bit more. And I'm talking about just taking guys with Storm Shields and Chainswords. Like, you don't need to necessarily arm them with any other good weapons. But yeah, I mean, you could push that Sanguinary Guard up to 9, maybe. I know 9 Sanguinary Guard is like crazy good overkill, but then there is something to be said, right? It's better to overkill than not kill, right? But I mean, your Devastator Squad, it's going to be 10 multi-melta shots. I guess you're moving when you leave the drop pods, so 6 multi-melta shots hitting on 4s, 4 multi-melta shots hitting on 3s, so you're looking at, on average, like probably like 6 multi-melta hits. I don't know what you're going to hit with those multi-meltas, but 6 multi-melta hits, you're going to wound most. You're going to get between like 3 and 5 wounds. So it will do some damage, like you'll get an initial burst, but you're not going to get sustain out of it because, in any game that an enemy has dropped down a Devastator Squad next to my units, right, I've just charged them, or I've just jumped at them, or I've just unloaded everything that I have into them. So the Devastator Squads are very much like, they'll punch something once, and then they'll be dead. So, I've kind of been tempted to run Devastators. or a drop pod of some sorts. But yeah, I mean, I guess I fall back typically on Vanguard Vet, Sangor Regard, and Death Company. I usually run all three in my lists, and I usually deep strike at least one of them, usually two of them. But I guess always Death the Company, sometimes the Sangor Regard, and then something else, I guess, Vanguard Veterans I always use as a defensive unit, right? So, like, I guess, like, the Vanguard Veterans are never jumping forward super offensively. We're using them to protect things that need to survive. Like, maybe they're running 6 inches behind your Leviathan Dreadnought. So if your Leviathan Dreadnought gets bogged down in combat, the Vanguard Veterans can jump forward and clear out any sort of threats on them. The nerf bat is coming for what? The multi-melta death, the Devastator squad. Yeah, I mean, something I think will change with multi-meltas. I think they are too strong right now. I think the meta is dominated by them. I know I'm playing against an Iron Hands player at the moment who's running 2 drop pods full of multi-melta guys, and it's kind of disgusting what they do when you drop them down. But I mean, I guess we will see. I kind of think it's like, on some factions, like Iron Hands, is almost a bit cheap how good they are. Like, you know, they're way better than Blood Angels. They can drop down in turn 1. In Iron Hands, they reroll 1s if they're heavy Doctrine, or if they're in Devastator Doctrine, and they obviously don't take -1 to moving and shooting in Iron Hands. So you get like 10 shots, 6 of which are hitting on 2s, rerolling 1. 4 of which are hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. It's just disgusting, you know. I think something will change on that. But, I mean, there's definitely value to be had in it, and I guess I'll review your list as is, and then I guess if you want to make some changes, or I think you got to play with it, man. But yeah, I think this captain definitely needs to join the Death Company for sure. It's going to cost you, what, 1 CP? You're going to get a 6+ Feel No Pain, you're going to get 1 additional attack, you're going to get the 3 unique death visions, and I think there's a lot of fun you can have with that now. If you're running a captain, then that's something you need to be doing. Okay, Will, OBSEC, I think it's a 4. I run this with 2 infiltrators and the 1 assault intercessor, but I think this is decent as well. It just depends, I suppose. If you play on a map where you have 2 objectives in your own deployment zone, you end up having assault intercessors sitting in your own deployment zone not doing too much because you need to hold all the points. So you've got that. Anti-Horde, your Leviathan alone gives you a good score for that because it is like 30 heavy shots now. 2 damage, mortal wounds. Sanguinary Guard do that. Your Redemptor does that. Your assault intercessors do that. So I think it's plenty for that. Your Gladiator does that as well. Actually, I think you get a 5 for anti-veer infantry. You know that. You have a ton of clear, I guess. And then I guess, like we talked about, you have a punch with your Devastators. I guess your Leviathan's not going to do too much against armor. Your Redemptor can do a bit. Your Sanguinary Guard can do quite a lot if they're in the right position. The Librarian Dreadnought can do a bit. The Captain can do a bit. So I think this is fairly high as well. I'm between 4 and 4.5. I think we'll go with 4.5. But I mean, something's to be said with like placement of these Devastators. Like if the Devastators come down and they kill a key target, then great. If they don't, then that might hurt you a little bit down the line. You know, if the Devastators just get wiped out right after you've deployed them, then you've got a problem. Mobility, I think it's fairly mobile, right? Because you got the Sanguinary Guard, the Vanguard Veteran. I mean, I guess you could count the drop pod as being fairly mobile as well. The Captain, Librarian, they can move around. So I think mobility is like 3.5. The Devastators aren't mobile. The Leviathan and the Tech Marine, I guess, aren't so mobile. Again, it's fairly decent. I think we go with 4 for mobility. And then specialization, like I think, like you can do a bit of everything with this list. I think there's a weakness in this tank though. Like I think he's very easy to kill with no invulnerable save. I think there's a weakness if the if the Devastator squads don't kill what they need to kill. Like if you drop them in and you don't do the damage, which is a potential, right? Because you only get 5 or 6 hits. And then I guess depending on the toughness of the enemy, let's say it's toughness 8, you're only going to get 3 or 4 wounds maybe. And if they have a decent invulnerable save, you're only going to get a couple of multi-melta shots through. So when you compare it against like the damage like a Sanguinary Guard could do or something, it's not as reliable for us as it is for other factions. And I guess there's no other... There's no other way to buff those rolls, is there? Yeah, I don't think so. Like, I don't think there's any of the stratagems that we could use that would essentially buff the shooting when you come in. I mean, Descent of the Angels buff the shooting, but it's jump pack units only. So, yeah, so I think based on that, like, I think your specialization needs to come in a little bit lower, like maybe 3. But I think I'm just it's like this 500 points of heavy support. I'm not super sure how effective this is going to be because it's very easy to clear that off the battlefield, right? And they're going to be prime targets for your enemy. So yeah, if anyone has a score then for Will, let me know and we'll add it to his score here right now. But yeah, it's literally 495 points of heavy support, and it can all be cleared off in one turn. Does the loss stack with the company command? Do the captains or lieutenants get replaced with the loss, or do we get more HQ? I do not have the book yet in front of me, Climb, but I do not think so. If someone could answer Climb that has the book, that would be great. I don't think you can use... Alright, Adam rated you really highly. You think the Redemptor is not point efficient. Have a Leviathan for the distraction. Drop the Reaper. Look at Deep Strike Intercessors, Terminators, or Death Company, or Twin Assault Razorbacks. I recently sold some stuff on eBay. What would you buy to improve the list? Mainly anti-vehicle, I guess. Yeah, I think my issue is the Reaper. Like, you already have quite a bit of clear, right? Like, your Leviathan is set up to clear infantry or clear screens. So I'm not sure if you need the Reaper as well. Or if you are going to take the Reaper, then I think you've got so much clear that you can replace the Devastator squad. I think you're probably right. You can probably take a Death Company, and you can probably take a smaller Death Company and buff out your Sanguinary Guard and your Vanguard Veterans, but with one more unit in each. And if you don't want to take Death Company, like you just said in chat, Assault Terminators works as well. I think if you were going to run the Assault Terminators, I would take some Thunder Hammers, though. I don't think you need more Lightning Claws to deal with this. So, alright, moving on. And this next list is Slamgunius. So I saw... do you know what? We'll bring it over here because I don't think this is a 2,000 point list. We'll make it a tiny bit bigger. Alright, greetings, brother. Blood Angels Commander. I absolutely love your videos and found them extremely useful. Alright, here's my submission. I look forward to the next live stream. How I intend to play the army. The 2 impulsors will be a delivery method for assault intercessors. After the goal is achieved, they'll be used to weaken the first targets when needed to, or try and deal damage where they can and survive in the second round. And 3 Oh, this is 2,000 points. All right, seems like a very short list for 2,000 points. The three Redemptor Dreadnoughts will primarily be used to hold the middle of the table. The Intercessors will be split into combat squads and used to hold the rear line. I have Bolters selected in this list that will be swapped to whatever is needed in the battle. The Death Company remains on a similar job to Assault Intercessors in taking objectives and dealing with anything that needs counting down. The Outriders' job will be a mixed bag of dealing with objectives and needing something that's fast that can handle themselves in close combat. Okay, and then finally from HQs, Primaris Captain, he will be in an Impulsor and used to support the Assault Intercessors and Death Company. Primaris Chaplain will be in the other Impulsor to get up the board and used to buff the Dreadnought. Tech Marine will be with the Dreads to keep them healed and make sure they can keep going for as long as possible. I'll maybe be playing as Necrons for this list and some Black Legion every now and again. And when I mainly play in casual settings, my friend circle, the Necron player is undefeated in like 6 games, and I'm finally wanting to put a stop to that. Nice, yeah, I played against Necrons quite recently, and their stupid rule where every single unit in their army can be objective secured is an absolute nightmare to deal with. It's so hard to hold your primaries against them, but I did beat them, and it is. I will hopefully help you beat this Necron player as well. Alright, so Primaris Captain that was going to have Rights of War to add OBSEC and the Shield of Eternal, and he is the Warlord, so I assume this is the one from the Indomitus box with the Mastercrafted Power Sword. Oh yeah, sorry, the next line, Mastercrafted Power Sword, Relic Shield. Alright, and then Primaris Chaplain, Manta of Strength. He's taking the Benediction of Fury on this guy, so we get the 3 damage Crozius with 6 during mortal wounds, and then the Tech Marine, who's just the Master of the Forge, so we're healing 3 damage per turn. 2 Assault Intercessor squads, 100 points each, that's fine, and then 1 Intercessor squad with 10-man Stalker Bolt Rifles, I guess, for holding the backfield. If you're usually playing against Necrons, the Necron player has that ability, Teleportation Orb, right, where he teleports in, and he can take a whole squad, like he can take 20 Necron warriors with him, and they can arrive within range of you, so they can essentially, if they have those Gauze Reapers, they can fire all the Gauze Reapers. So the way to get around that, I guess, Slanguinius, is make these infiltrators. I mean, we talk about them in every stream and how good they are. That just totally stops him doing that tactic at all. I don't know if he uses that on you, but if he does, you've just basically, for infiltrators cost 120 points, these guys cost 200, so 80 less points, and you just prevented 40 Gauze shots, which are like strength 5 minus 2, because each Necron warrior gets to shoot twice, and you can have a 20-man squad. Yeah, so it's 40 strength 5 shots with minus 2. They only do 1 damage. Oh, thank you so much, Will. Thanks for all the advice. I can't wait to try it out in a few weeks. I just need to find somewhere to play. Any tips on finding somewhere to play? Where are you based, Will? But yeah, thank you very much for the £5. That is very generous of you. I appreciate it. So, I mean, I get what you're doing here. I guess you could Auspex scan those Necron warriors when they jump in, and I guess these guys can sit in the backfield and shoot for the entire game, maybe because the Stalkers are like 36 inches. But yeah, it's tough to deal with the Necrons, but I like your troop choices. It makes sense. Thoughts on 5 Plasma Inceptors in a list. So Plasma Inceptors are great, man. I actually really want to get round to painting mine. I'm painting the current list that I'm trying to get competitive in 2,000 points. But I think Inceptors can definitely work in lists, and I think running. I could even run maybe like I could run a squad of Inceptors, maybe like 3 Plasmas and 3 Bolters, so you have a bit of flexibility, or maybe 2 and 2. Central London. Oh well, I guess, like, I believe England is in like a crazy level of lockdown right now at the moment. I'm sure that there's I guess what you probably have to do is find some sort of public gaming centre that is going to be able to open at reduced capacity when the lockdown ends. We're fortunate in the area that I'm in Scotland, where we're in tier 1, which is like the lowest tier of the COVID restrictions in Scotland, but you know, it is what it is at the moment. I mean, there's good news on the horizon that there's a vaccine coming, so maybe it won't be too long before gaming centres open up. But I think if you find a centre, like, we have a place that we can go play in, it's only like 1 or 2 people, and everybody's wearing masks, and it's got improved cleaning, whatever that means. I guess it's just getting cleaned more often, so, I mean, it just is what it is with the COVID nonsense at the moment. But yeah, hopefully... I thought I read on the news that they're starting vaccines like next week, as early as next week. So, yeah, hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months things will get back to normal quicker. You know, I guess use this time to paint up and I guess come hang out and I'll have some more battle reports up. But yeah, I mean, not much I can help you with there. Alright, and then we have a 10-man death company, and it's the old death company, which we like. A lot of bolt pistols and chainswords. I would be putting at least 1 heavy weapon into this, like a Thunderhammer, or 2, a Power Fist, or 2, especially on a 10-man squad. There's times when your death company are going to get engaged with something that's difficult, like a character or something. You don't want to only be hitting characters with chainswords. You need something that packs a bit more of a punch, like a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist. And I guess with the new Descent of the Angels stratagem, right, you actually... I was thinking about this. You could use Descent of the Angels now to actually make our Death Company better when they drop in. So for 1 CP, any negative charge modifiers could be ignored, and then we add 1 to this each model's attack roll, and it's not per phase. It's until the end of the turn. So every Death Company would get +1 to their pistols, so their pistols hit on 2s, and I guess their chainswords would hit on 2s. And if you are taking like a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist that's normally -1 to hit, then it would just hit on 3s like standard. So Death Company have actually got a buff, I guess, with Descent of the Angels. Holiday to Scotland. Yeah, you need to come really far north in Scotland, because the whole central belt of Scotland is the same. My brother lives in Glasgow, which is like the central area of Scotland, and they're tier 4. Like, everything is closed. I guess it's probably the same as England right now. Alright, so we have a Redemptor Dreadnought, Macroplasma Onslaught Cannon. I think that's solid. And then we have 2 more. So we have 3 Macroplasmas. Alright, so this is pretty crazy, actually. And I guess this synergizes really well, actually, in that one of these Dreadnoughts could run the Wisdom of the Ancient, and basically you would be able to reroll 1s on all the Dreadnoughts around them if they're all together. And I guess you've got the Tech Marine there, so you can repair 3 damage a time. I guess you have to worry a little bit if one of them explodes. Will 2021 be the year of the Blood Angels? I mean, if you've watched some of my battle reports recently, and especially like the battle report that I just put up like last week, where I beat Chaos World Eaters, like I think it was 83 to 19. Like, I already thought the Blood Angels were pretty in a solid place with the Space Marine Codex. So I think with our book, I think we're a fairly top tier army. I don't think I'm really overly scared of anything right now. I know the guys in my circle, Death Guard players, really want to rematch against me. Sisters of Battle want rematches. So I think I guess we'll see. But I think we're in a really good place. I'm really excited to try this new Gift of Foresight. I think it's going to be super strong, and yeah, I mean, I need to tweak my army list for my next battle, but I think the tweaks are just going to be like, we're just going to have a Primaris Chaplain on a bike with 2 Warlord traits, and he's going to be an absolute monster. So I think I really like the idea of being able to reroll 2 saves per turn when you have a 4+ invulnerable save, and it's going to cost you 1 CP. I mean, I think that's going to be crazy strong. Especially when I've seen that guy in combat, he just kills. Like, I think I was in combat with like 3 Death Guard characters in one turn, and I think he killed all of them. Hello from the northeast of Scotland. As a new Blood Angels player, what unit do you recommend for fast assault? I assume you mean fast attack, or do you just mean fast assault? I guess, Scott, it depends on what units do you already currently have, Scott. Then Outriders, so I guess 2 Outrider squads. I can see a lot of people running 2 Outrider squads. I don't think 1 Outrider squad really ever does work, so I think 2 is okay. Especially being able to react fast and get around the board. And then 2 dedicated transports, and I guess the transports are to take the assault intercessors, and the other transport is also to take the characters as well. So like a squad of assault intercessors and the captain, a squad of assault intercessors and the chaplain. I guess the one thing to say is if you are running up against that Necron list that where everything is crazy obsec, then I believe there's it's this relic, the Visage of Death, that we just got access to in the new book, which is -1 to hit when the enemy try and hit your character, but enemy units within 3 inches of this model lose objective skewered or any similar abilities. I know that Necrons get the ability to double obsec, so each unit that is objective controlled counts for 2 as well. That can make holding the objectives an absolute nightmare. It can be getting the points in your primaries an absolute nightmare. So Visage of Death could be an option if you want to counteract his primaries. I believe this is our edition. It's 9th edition and we're the 9th Legion. Maybe. But I know what you mean with the double reroll saves. Or should that be dual reroll? Well, you can never reroll the same dice twice, Highland, right? But, I mean, I guess if you fail 2 saves, being able to reroll both saves in a single turn seems really, really strong. I can't wait to see a whole army of Death Company. Not sure it's tactical, but it sounds scary. Yeah, I don't think it is tactical at all, especially because you won't have anything that is obsec. But it's why I have the questions. I think the wording is going to need an FAQ. Alright. Yeah, so assault intercessors in an impulsor, another assault intercessors in an impulsor, one with captain, one with chaplain, tech marine with 3 redemptor dreadnoughts, a 10-man death company that can potentially deep strike, and then 6 outriders to take up the flank, and then 10 intercessors to hold the backfield. Interesting list. So, I mean, objective secured, I guess, is going to be 4, right? You've got those 10 intercessors that can hold. You've got the 2 squads of assault intercessors pushing out onto the enemy objectives. You know, we just talked about, like, Rites of War. Maybe Visage of Death would be a better option than Rites of War. You'd have to. There is still a way. Like, you could lose Rites of War. You could take Visions of Death, and then you could take the. You already have a Storm Shield on this captain, so you could take the Adamantium Mantle and get the save 5 plus Feel No Pain that you wanted here. So you could take the different relic, and I have to double check how you do this, but you could. It's definitely doable, right? There's a new. Yeah, it's this one. So Angels Ascendant. Use the stratagem. Select 1 Blood Angels. No, it's not that one. It's this one. Honoured by the Arx Angelicum. So you can give 1 relic of the Angels to a character that thrown from your Death Army. So give them the Visage of Rage, and then you can also pick a special. Instead of giving the special Wargear relic. No, it's. I can't remember. Use the stratagem after. No. Use the stratagem, select 1 Blood Angels model from your army that has the word Sergeant in their profile. No, so that's not it. So this is the one that gives you the double Warlord trait. There was one that lets you... I thought there was one that lets you take a relic and then take a special issue Wargear. Does anyone remember what that one was called? As I say, I don't have the book, which is really annoying. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. So it is, you actually take... Sorry. You take the Angel's Exemplar. So You give yourself the relic, the Visage of Death. Then for your Warlord trait, you take the Angel's Exempt. I don't even think you need to take your Warlord trait. You take Artisan of War. This Warlord can be given one of the special issues, so the Adamantium Mantle. So you could change this character to have the Visage of Death, the Adamantium Mantle, and then you could still pick a Warlord trait, so you could still take the Gift of Foresight. So this captain could be made better. He could still have his 5+ Feel No Pain, but he could remove OBSEC, which might be more powerful than granting your guys OBSEC. I mean, you have Assault Intercessors with him. They're already OBSEC, so you take the Visage of Death to remove all your enemies' OBSEC. So if the enemy has any Necron Warriors just sitting on objectives, like they like to do, my friend likes to put 20 Necron Warriors on an objective, you've just removed that. None of them are OBSEC anymore. So your one Assault Intercessor on that objective holds it for you. So this would help you a lot, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a 4 right now, but yeah, I've just told you how to do that a lot better. How does this list deal with clearing infantry? Then I think clearing infantry overall seems generally pretty good, right? You've got a ton of chainswords with the Death Company, you've got chainswords with Outriders, you get chainswords with Assault Intercessors. You don't have so much shooting, and I guess Necrons do have those really nasty Gauss rifles in close range, but you do have some impulsors, so maybe you're okay. But I mean, Horde clearing is probably a 4 or 5. Probably like, I'm going to say it's a 4 because you've got very little shooting. So you're going to struggle a little bit with the lack of shooting here, I think. I like Blood Angel's armies to mix a good balance between... I think you need to have some solid heavy support to take out some like key units. I think if you rely too much on close combat, you'll lose the game. And this list is very heavy in close combat. Looking at it, I guess your Redemptors can do what little shooting you do have. And it is 3 macro plasma cannons, so it would be 3d6 shots. So it would be like 9 shots, potentially all in high power. So potentially you could do like 20 wounds from this. Maybe I didn't notice those Redemptors have the Onslaught cannons. Yeah, maybe because there's 3 Onslaught cannons in there. That's heavy 24. Again, you could be re-rolling 1s. They are core units. Yeah, so maybe anti-monster is like 4, but you lack really any close combat that's going to do a lot. I mean, short of the Redemptor's Fist, your Chainswords and your Outriders aren't going to kill monsters. Your Chainswords and your Death Company aren't going to kill monsters. Your Chainswords and your Assault Intercessors aren't going to kill monsters. I would definitely consider dropping that Intercessor squad, the 10-man one, get Infiltrators in there. Or, yeah, because that would free up enough points to get some weapons into the Death Company for sure, a couple of weapons. A couple of weapons into that Assault Intercessor squads. So I think I think if I was playing against this list and you're running those Redemptors in a bubble, I would make a good point of trying to avoid the Redemptors, right? Honours by the... Yeah, thank you, Balanced Hydra, for clarifying that. I could never remember what I was looking for. You're very welcome for the Blood Angels Focus channel. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, we are the best faction in the 40k game, so why would we not have our own dedicated channel, you know? And I do still want to do a live stream when the book comes out, because obviously, like, I'm struggling a little bit today because I don't have all the rules and I haven't had a chance to read the book. I hate reading stuff off a screen. I like reading off a book, so I'll definitely dive into the book more when I have it. Mobility in this list, I think the Outriders add a lot of ability. The Impulsors add mobility. The Death Company, I'm surprised. You know, it's weird that we don't have any Sanguinary Guard in here when they're arguably one of our strongest units. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully we'll catch you soon. So, mobility, though, overall seems reasonable. Like, maybe like a 3.5. And then, what are we talking, like, specialization? Like, is this list going to struggle against anything? Is it too specialized? I mean... I guess the Redemptors are going to be quite one-dimensional. You're going to know what they're going to do. You're going to know exactly how the Impulsors are going to work. You're going to know how the Outriders are going to roll. So, I mean, in terms of keeping your opponent guessing with what you're going to do, The only thing you can have them guessing with, I guess, is the Death Company. Like, they're on the board or they're off the board, and at the moment, they're only scary against, like, infantry squads, right? Because they've got chains, they got nothing, they got no heavy hitting weapons in there. So, the one other thing I can think of is, like, if you're running all those Redemptors next to each other, I don't remember, I think they nerfed the explosions on the Redemptors, right? They used to be like it used to be crazy on a Redemptor Dreadnought. I think it used to be like D6 mortal wounds for a Redemptor exploding. What is it now? It's D3 mortal wounds. So it's 6 inches D3. So if you are running the Redemptors all together, if the enemy manages to pop a couple of them, you could easily lose a bit off another one. You could also potentially lose that Tech Marine. I mean, you could always lose a Tech Marine if something destroyed, but if you're running them in a bubble, if you are running those Redemptors in a bubble, the thing that I would almost be saying is, like, why haven't you got a Librarian Dreadnought? Well, I guess you couldn't run the Librarian Dreadnought now because we've just lost Psychic Fortress, but you could run a regular Librarian to give them the 5+ Feel No Pain. 5+ Invulnerable Save. Is that better than the Tech Marine? Probably be similar point cost, right? Like, I think a Primaris Librarian is like 90 points. Very, very similar to the Tech Marine. I think having an invulnerable save on those dreads might be better if you can just have. They can't shoot the character, obviously, same as they can't shoot their Tech Marine. So it depends on, you know, like, if you're up against a very shooty enemy list that has a lot of high power weapons. If they have enough to kill a Redemptor each turn, then yeah, you would definitely be better off taking the Librarian and activating the Psychic Fortress for the 5+ save. So I think specialization is fine. I think we're going like 3.5 because the one thing I want to say, yeah, I don't think there's much for your enemy to try and guess, right? If they can see when you deploy on the board exactly what you're going to do and how to counter it. I think one of the strengths maybe of Blood Angels is, not like normally, like, I think we talked about how most Blood Angels players, the highly competitive ones, are running like probably 3 units of jump troops, and knowing if they're on the board or if they're off the board can keep your enemies guessing a bit. And then, I mean, I guess you're going to struggle to screen as well with just this one squad of guys, and it's not infiltrators. So, I mean, if anyone has a score then for Slanguinius, if you want to put it in the chat, that'd be great. But yeah, for me, it's a little bit different to what I would run, and I think this might have been one of the first lists where we have no Sanguinary Guard, and I think Sanguinary Guard for the points, like at 30 points a model with the bolt guns and the axes, considering the axes got better, considering they got made harder to hit in close combat, considering they got an additional attack, like they're just so strong. Like, would I run they're 30 points. Would I run 8 Sanguinary Guard against 10 Death Company? Yeah, I think absolutely I would. I think the Sanguinary Guard would do. They're more versatile. They have double the number of shots, and their weapons are +1 strength and -2. And I think they would get. I think with the +1 attacks the Sanguinary Guard got, they'd get the same number of attacks as the Death Company. And I guess the difference is the Death Company feel no pain on 6s. But saves on 3s, and the Sanguinary Guard saves on 2s. So, and then I guess Sanguinary Guard is -1 to hit in close combat. So they're pretty much identical in terms of survivability, but your Sanguinary Guard would just do a lot more overall. So yeah, this was Slanguinius' list, and a bit different. And I guess we called out a few different things that might help battling against Necrons. If I did notice you were in the stream earlier, Slam, maybe you had to take off, but I hope I given you some food for thought and maybe helped you out a little bit there. And then, okay, so we move on to the last list for today. This is just a quick 1,000-point list. And so I guess if you are new here, then I would appreciate if you consider supporting or subscribing to the channel. And if you're getting any value out of this video, or you feel like you've learned something today, please hit the like button. It really helps other Blood Angels players find the channel. I'm at the same score, 19, for the same reasons, except on the Sangroyard, it's about synergy. You might take them, you might need to consider your HQ choices. Yeah, I mean, I guess your HQ choices, let me just go back 1 second. What was it? It was the captain, it was the chaplain, and the technary. Yeah, and I mean, I guess because they're in vehicles as well, it makes it seems strange to have no jump pack or no bike or anything for the HQ. They're like usually one fast moving HQ, I feel like. I like the triple redemptor. A lot of eggs in one basket. Maybe lose the bikes, add Sanguinary Guard. They're just my favourite for the points. Maybe change intercessors or infiltrators. Yeah, I think the feedback in the chat is very valid for your list, Slam. I'm so glad that some of you guys are getting on board with the infiltrator thing right now. I'm working on them. I'd be putting them off for far too long. But yeah, I think they're going to be quite cool. Like I said, I'm going with black helmets because they are super special ops, right? So these guys, I've just done base colours. I don't know. Maybe I was trying to get base colours on a bunch of things so that my next army list doesn't look like I don't paint. I do paint. I do try and paint every week. Just it's hard with a 1-year-old daughter to find the time. And unfortunately, what it seems like is every time I finish painting a list, that list is no longer competitive. That's how slow I am at painting. Okay, so 1,000-point list. And I guess the stream will be finishing soonish today. So if anyone has any final questions about the new codex, you can let me know. And if you want to continue the chat after the stream, then there is a link down below to our Facebook group. And every week in the Facebook group, I guess we share photos, we share strategies, we ask questions, and we've got a pretty helpful community of folk in there. So if you do want to find out more, then please think about joining the Facebook group. That's very kind of you, Klein. I am trying to do my best to help everybody out. Basically, I don't know, I mean, I think the goal for the channel was to help everybody do better with Blood Angels. Nice, I'd like to see 3 or 4 squads of... you know what, a few weeks back we had some guy, I need to try and remember his name, I think his name was like Jaegerbomb, and he was talking about a Phobos army, and I've never actually built a Phobos army, but I would sure like to see a Blood Angels Phobos army. I mean, I don't know if a Phobos army, like maybe 1,000 points of Phobos and 1,000 points of other stuff, and see what that looks like. Alright, so 1,000-point list. So captain and chaplain. I'll forever get these things wrong. So it's a chaplain with, this is a shooting chaplain, I believe, recantation of focus. I never run this. I'm sure that's the one that's +1 to hit the closest visible target. Oh, they've changed it. In this litany is inspired, select 1 core unit within 6 of this priest. Each time this model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the unit's attack roll. Okay, so they've changed recantation of focus. It no longer needs to be the closest enemy target. It's just +1 to hit. Interesting. That's really interesting, actually. Okay. I'm glad infiltrators are useful currently. They're one of my first proper purchases from my army since the Games Workshop employee was like, sorry, out of intercessors, and these lads are good too. Yeah, the Games Workshop employees actually don't always know so much what they're talking about, right? Infiltrators are so much better than intercessors, right? Like, I wish I'd known that before I painted about 6 squads of intercessors that sit in a drawer behind me and never get on the board anymore. And you know what, it was just random that I bought infiltrators, because I bought that Vanguard set. I don't even really know why, because like at the time I was looking at it and going like, there's no close combat stuff in here, why am I buying this, you know? But they just provide value every game. And I love the fact they can be smoke screened as well. Like, not many people realise that. Like, I always have them in cover, and anytime you're going to go shoot, so they're on a 2+ save because they're in cover, and anytime people go to shoot them, I'm like, oh, smoke screen, -1 to hit, and the people will be like, they're troops. I'm like, yeah, but they can smoke screen. And they're like, what? I'm like, yep, -1 to hit. You know, so it's like, they're just so survivable for holding objectives. I love them. Alright, so we've got a priest with the Chainsword, Chief Apothecary, Selfless Healer, Teeth of Terra, and the Warlord. Makes a lot of sense. Not very tanky, this Priest, but I guess now you could make him tanky by giving him an additional Warlord trait or an additional relic. You could give him a 5+ Feel No Pain. I guess he has a 6+ from his own. The Priest aura would affect himself, right? I think. One Intercessor squad, just a 5-man Intercessor squad. I guess that's fine in a 1,000-point game. 5 Bladeguard veterans seems like a lot. They're going to be foot slogging it, so I kind of don't like this, but that's fine. Then we have Sanguinary Guard, 2 axes, 2 swords, 1 fist. It seems common that some people like to mix, and I think that's okay as well. I think I would drop, Blade Guard, I believe, 175 divided by 5 is 35 per model. Is that right? Yeah, so Blade Guard are 35 points per model. I would for sure drop 1 Blade Guard then and take 1 more Sanguinary Guard and give that Sanguinary Guard an Infernal Pistol. That would be a like-for-like swap. 35 points for 35 points. These guys will be flute slogging it. These guys will be much more able to react and get across the board, and that Infernal Pistol has the potential to do 8 damage. And you always want these guys in close combat anyway. So as long as the Infernal Pistol guy survives, you'll be able to shoot off that pistol, do a shitload of damage. It'd be great. Outriders. So I've said before, 3 Outriders I don't think works in a 2,000 point game. I guess 3 Outriders probably works okay in a 1,000 point game. And then a large squad of Eradicators, 200 points. This is almost like the sweet spot, I guess. I guess when we were talking earlier, I think 400 points of characters and 400 points of heavy support in a 2,000 point game works fine. So I guess half, that's 205, and half 200. That seems about the right amount. I think if you think of it that way, you have 1,200 points left to play with. 300 to 400 is on troops, and then 800 is on your elites, right? Something like that seems like a good balance. So yeah, I think this actually seems like a pretty solid 1k list. I think I'll just make that one little tweak. Don't forget, if it's a 1,000 point size, it may be on smaller boards. Yeah, it would be on smaller boards for sure, but I just think that 6 Sanguinary Guard will overkill everything in a 1,000 point game. It'll be really difficult for your enemy to deal with them. You can obviously be able to jump them from cover to cover. The board will be smaller, so I think you'll probably they'll never be able to be shot. They'll just jump into cover, jump out of cover, kill a unit, jump to cover. In general, be very good, I think. So, the one thing to say, I guess, is you've got 1 Intercessor squad. This is 6 guys, because it's 120 points. So change those to Infiltrators for sure. I'll give you a 4. If you change those to Infiltrators, I'd give you a 4.5. Infiltrators, a 5-man squad is the same as this, 120 points. Blast, clear. Eradicators, 200 points of Eradicators in a game this size, I guess probably means, and especially with the Sanguinary Guard, axes, swords, Blade Guard, decent as well. I think anti-monster vehicle, you're probably sitting on 4.5. Anti-horde, maybe a little bit less. Outriders, they can react and they're mobile, I guess, so maybe a 4 for that. Mobility-wise, these 2 can react. The Priest, I guess, can react. Nothing else is really mobile, so maybe mobility is a 3. Could be generous with a 3.5, but I think we'll say 3. And then, is it specialised? Well, no, I think the breakdown is almost perfect, right? In terms of what you have. So I don't think it's too... I don't think it needs to necessarily go down for specialisation at all. I just think maybe if this was me, I would maybe... If we dropped another Blade Guard, so we're just looking at 3, could this Chaplain become a Chaplain on a bike? I think he's 100. I think the Chaplain on a bike's 115 points precisely, right? Let me double check that. Because I think he's when you put him when you make him the Master of Sanctity, he goes up to 140 points, right? Primaris, Chaplain on a bike, 115 points. Yeah, okay. So if this was me, 100%, I would make this a 3-man Blade Guard squad and make this the Chaplain on the bike. He'd be able to react. He'd be able to get around the board so much quicker. He could potentially become the Warlord. You know, the Sanguinary Priest isn't tanky at all. He isn't survivable. He's just like 4 wounds and a 3+ save. Whereas this Chaplain is a 3+, a 4+. He's got 5 toughness and he's got 7 wounds. And he could be all over the board wrecking havoc. I don't even know if he... I mean, I guess the plan with this list was to have him maybe buff the Eradicators. I would get this guy to close combat with these 2 squads, and I think he'd do way more work. I mean, he's kind of wasted if he's just sat buffing Eradicators, considering how much damage the Chaplain on a bike can do. Yeah. I keep forgetting my list. I keep forgetting to submit my list, but the community list is where we post our info. Yeah, so you would come over to the Facebook page, and you'd click on community, and there will be a post here every week. I'll probably make a post in the next couple of days. Once I actually get my Codex and I'm going to do a live stream on the Codex, I'll make a post here, and I'll ask for army lists. And I guess I'll be asking for lists for... I guess it'll probably be at this point Sunday the 20th, but after the 20th I go on holiday from my day job for a couple of weeks. So maybe I'll try and do an extra stream or 2 over Christmas. I'm sure people will have time on their hands to build lists and tune in and that sort of thing over Christmas. So maybe we can do that as well. So yeah, I mean this 1,000-point list, I think I've given it 19.5. Couple of small tweaks I think could actually make this list very strong. Does anyone have a score up for Prime and Go? So that's pretty much it for today, guys. We'll just finish up Primer and Go's. What am I trying to say? We'll just finish up looking at his final score, and then yeah, I mean that'll be the end of the stream for today. I guess just thank you so much for hanging out as always. And yeah, thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you for everybody that did super chats. They're always super appreciated. Only one troop, but I think the Rights of War and Visage of War for denying OBSEC is valuable, and I agree with the Chaplain for the Warlord. Yeah, I think a few tweaks there, Prime and Go, and I think you could really do quite a lot. Hey, welcome Smithy, thanks for tuning in. So, yeah, we have... So a post will go up this week. So the plan for this week, I guess, is... new stream on the Codex. As soon as I get it, I will sort that out, and then yeah, probably a video on Librarian and Mephiston next week. I really think that we could mass hammer some interesting things out of that, and then I guess if anyone has suggestions for future videos, in terms of anything that you want worked out, anything that you want looked at, that you think... another thing that I think people have asked a lot about is like the new Leviathan profiles. So maybe we'll do like a Leviathan versus Redemptor take 2. We'll look at all the weapon options this time and see really... We'll look at survivability and everything, so we'll just work it all out. Okay, yeah, so I guess that's it today. Thank you again for tuning in, and yeah, we did get a final score. Okay, so Blood Angels, Cruselic specific relics, and Warlord traits are fun. Yeah, I mean, I just haven't had a chance to check out Crusade. I think I will get to Crusade, but for the next few months, because I want to get to a tournament as soon as I guess as soon as like lockdown and all that nonsense finishes and everyone's immune from this vaccine, I would like to get a tournament. I would like to get to a tournament with a 9th edition Blood Angel list. I think we're in a really good place, and maybe once I've been to a tournament I can share with you guys a bunch of improvements or thoughts on how we get even stronger. So, yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend, and I will see you all hopefully some night this week for a live stream on the new Codex, whenever it arrives. And, yeah, by the blood are we made. Peace.